What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Rotation Show. We have a special two for one special for you today. We have two renowned weed brands out of Northern California, our home area, and one is a cultivator that's been in the game, paving the way, and one is an extractor that has redefined the way to extract. And they both have huge followings, and they're connoisseurs in the weed game. And these guys are the real deal. Please welcome everybody, Kristian from Phinest Genetics and Carter from Paper Plane Extracts. Welcome guys.
Hey, thank you.
What's up?
Appreciate
and everybody, it's our co-host Alex. Yeah. So yeah, welcome guys, man.
Yeah.
Glad to have you guys on.
Yeah, stuff to be here.
Yeah, appreciate you guys reaching out to us, man.
And we got the double whammy at the same time.
Yes. Yeah. Another Sacktown great here, dude.
Yeah, two busy guys fucking linking the schedule for us. Alex is dope.
It's Carter's birthday
And
today.
it's Carter's
So
birthday. Happy birthday, dog.
And Kristian blessed me with this Hindu Skittles papaya from Turbos. Yeah, it's fire.
Wow, what does it smell
thank
like?
you.
More Skittles?
Yeah, check it
Or more
out.
papaya?
It's definitely the
More
papaya
papaya?
always comes through in those rosin strains.
Like rotten
Nice.
fruit.
Oh wow, that's terpy, dude. Oh wow,
Yeah, so I'm stoked,
that's
man. Thank
papaya. Papaya is the number one there. That's good, dude. Wow. Well, I'll take a dab of that later if I
you.
can.
I mean, that terp
That'd be
profile has
dope.
just been such a standard for rosin for years now, you know.
Yeah. That's good.
That's a sweet smell.
Well, man, let's jump right into this, man. We want the backstory. We want to know how you guys came up and where you're from and all that good stuff, man. We'll start with Kristian, bro. Let's know your story, man.
Grew up in New York, outside the city for a little bit, and then moved upstate. Kind of got introduced to weed up there through actually Indian reservations, and back then it was a lot of bad, just Mexican brick. I kind of remember when all the beasters started coming across, would actually hit the Indian reservations, and where I was in upstate, it would kind of populate through the little towns and stuff like that. And back then, I actually had a buddy I grew up with. He was Navajo and would actually get us on the Indian reservation. So
Nice.
we, outside of high school, like we started moving packs and stuff down from upstate New York down to the city, and started slinging weed. Back
Damn.
then,
So they grew on the Indian reservations?
No,
Or
the
what-
Indian
what was the
reservation
Indian-
actually touched Canada,
Oh, I see.
and because it wasn't like
No
federal
man's
land
land?
and stuff,
No
like
man's
you had
land?
to have a connection to get onto the Indian reservation. So it would come across. People would actually walk across
Shit.
the border from Canada and start bringing weed down. So
Very cool.
Yeah.
And
Sounds
the Indian reservation presses up against the border.
Yeah.
So federal border patrol on both sides were stuck at that border at the Indian reservation?
yeah, they didn't touch until you started coming out of the reservation.
Oh.
Like we did that for a couple months, and then it started kind of getting hot, and we all kind of chilled out and took a break. We got tailed a couple times, and being like 18, 19, definitely we're
Right.
sweating pretty hard.
And you're moving packs in New York. I mean, I could imagine that state's just coming online finally.
Actually, New York decriminalized weed in like the 70s, but they had this
Oh.
really weird law where as long as it was in your pocket, it didn't matter. It was legal. But what the cops would do, and I got busted, I think I was 17. Had like a half ounce on me. Cop pulled us over. He smelt it in the car, and he was like, "I'm gonna get the drug dog, and unless everyone, whoever gives it up." So there's a buddy driving, so I just stood up and said, "Okay, it's mine," and took me out of the car, and he asked to see it, and when you actually show it, that decriminalization is thrown out the window. But New York is still really like liberal on weed laws. It was like $100 fine. Like I just went in, got my fingerprints, and walked out the door. But
That's dope.
so
You want to know a little trick I used to have when we were moving shit back in the days? We used to call it a safety sack, dude. And like even if you'd have 5-10 pounds whatever on you at all times, you'd always just keep like the most fire half-ounce zip just right on you, you
Right.
know. So when they pulled over, if they smelled the shit, you're just like, yeah, officer, like I got my script. here's my sack, and just go. And that reminded me of that right there. But that's a little tip.
And you had a bunch of packs in the trunk.
Yeah, because like admitting real quick, hey, I got this on me. They loosen up real quick. Whereas if they can't see anything,
right,
they're like, where's the fucking weed?
They're curious.
Yeah, exactly. So man, the safety sack has saved me many times. Yeah.
And that was actually my part of that whole moving weed from upstate down to the city. Was like I was the guy behind, like driving with
and then a tail.
Nice.
We got the tail. I was the one that had to take it.
You were the decoy car. I've done that
Allegedly.
plenty, dude.
You done that?
And I've done that a lot, dude. Right out of high school, like trucking shit down from Grass Valley and Clear Lake and places like that. But I always thought to myself, like, I'm really not that stupid to ram a cop if this guy gets busted.
No, you just gotta speed or like
hit
him with a little weird something real quick.
My boy would tell me that's what I gotta do, and I'm like, okay, just give me my pound or give me my half pound, and at the end of this, I ain't
right when your friend's talking to you, he's just like, don't trip. Like you might go to jail real quick. Just it's all good. Like you're like okay.
My boy was like, if the cop comes, you ram him. I'm like, yeah, okay, bro. You got it. Fuck that.
Yeah, no, that'd be savage.
But yeah, that was when free weed and you know trafficking and shit was fun. Yeah.
No
But we're out pushing weed down from Canada through the Indian Reservoir, and then you calm down on that. Where'd you go from there?
I was actually competing professionally snowboarding.
Oh shit!
That's dope.
And that which actually ultimately brought me out west. So I moved to Tahoe about 20 years ago. Okay. Was competing, started getting hurt pretty bad. Realized
what year was this?
2000, 2001.
Like
Okay.
snowboard injuries, like when you're getting
Yeah, like this shoulder. I've destroyed this shoulder. The only thing that was holding it together was skin. I had like 4th-degree separation. Every muscle, tendon, everything was just ripped apart.
No
so
way.
Is that after one accident or
that
like
was after
multiple?
one? That was after one contest. Yeah.
Damn.
Shit.
So I went probably 15, 20 feet in the air, upside down to my shoulder and my head. Started getting some pretty serious concussions. So realized I needed to take it easy. Actually went to college, where it's kind of funny. I started getting introduced to like the indoor grows because like that didn't happen back east when I was growing up back east.
Where'd you end up going to college?
There's a small school up in Lake Tahoe called Sierra Nevada College.
Oh, you went to
Right.
Sierra Nevada?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Dope. That's cool.
and studied computer science, and it was funny. A lot of people like Tahoe, it's still expensive to live there, but so many people like offset living up there by growing weed. And that's how I kind of got it started.
And Truckee grows that fire.
Oh yeah.
That indoor up there.
I would say anywhere Auburn and up and
Yes.
Placerville and up, they're all fucking weed grows.
I don't know enough about indoor to know why, but for us it was always like it must be because it's cold up there.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
it's
cold
like-
and dry is
Yeah.
what we thought. Kind of just maybe
purples.
helped. Yeah, we didn't know at the time, but every time we'd get indoor out of Truckee, sometimes it'd be Tahoe. You know, it was fire. It's always good.
Always
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, when my lights would go out, this was before like you had like commercial, AC systems and stuff. But we used to run the lights at night, pump cold air through. Because even in the summer, it's kind of funny. I grew up in one of the coldest places, in America. Like it would be 30 below without the wind chill, and when the wind chill it hit 80, 90 below.
Whoa.
But Truckee is actually one of the coldest on average for all year. So even in the summertime, at some point it's going to get down to 45.
Right.
So we would pump cold air the whole time through. You just watch the resin just build, and you would just see the colors come out really, really tight.
So with cold air, it makes weed more
it's a defense
resiny.
mechanism.
Okay. More resiny, and probably the colors start popping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
What does it do? Keep the plant warm, essentially? The
No,
more
it
resin, or-
feels like it's so the resin glands are to accept pollen, right? So it's a defense mechanism. Think it's dying. It's like getting too cold. So when we pump that air, it just put up more resin. The terpenes would follow. So it thinks it's dying. It's like you kind of tricked it into think it was dying.
Right.
So that's the THC would go higher and all.
So
of
it
that.
kind of the plant's like I got to give it everything I got.
Yeah.
Are there licenses up there yet?
No, unfortunately, no. There's like delivery licenses, but that's about
But
it.
you can't cultivate yet up there.
There's like one. It's kind of funny. I've always wanted to get a commercial license up there because,
Yeah.
you know, I still live up there, and it's a tough place to leave. It's it's paradise, but there is like a spot in Truckee that's not Truckee, the town of Truckee. It's actually Nevada County, which Nevada County's you know now has licenses and stuff like that. So, but it's very expensive to build up there. And
Yeah, I don't see that
Oh, I
feasible.
didn't
Like
think
the
about
real
that.
estate and for there.
Yeah.
I mean, you could come
there's
down this way. You could go to Modesto, Stockton area, probably get better.
Yeah, the industrial warehouse space, I guess, is kind of limited in Truckee.
Yeah.
It's a shame. I guess that's what goes with, you know, with the rec market sometimes. Just like, no more garage grows, or as many garage grows and
But
house grows.
Those spots they do have up there, they're
Yeah.
always a dope spot to get to. Like you gotta
Yeah.
go past these redwoods, up these pines, down this hill, and then boom, there's a huge warehouse flat on flat land. All of a sudden,
I still miss too just going to homie's actual like 5-bedroom homes, and it's
Oh,
like a
yeah.
beautiful home, and this person has just trapped this place the fuck out.
Yeah.
And every room is just a different, you know, going to those in the beginning was like, it was so fun, you know, every time you just be blown away what you see, and you're like, holy shit, I can't believe these guys rent out these like mansions and just blow fucking
Blow it up.
shit
right.
out of them.
that was the
dude.
thing.
That was
the
it,
thing.
right?
The
Yeah.
Asians took that and ran with it, dude. They
Yeah.
did whole blocks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
damn,
Yeah.
and they would lock
it was wild.
lock in a cul-de-sac. That's fucking smart. But-
tap the power and
Oh yeah.
overhead low.
They used to tap the power. That was a weekly
That was the
report on
thing.
Sacramento.
Yeah.
Either a fire and then they find illegal power. That's crazy. So you're growing in Tahoe. You're going to school. You graduated.
Yeah, I got done with school, and I actually worked. I wrote code for like 12 years,
Wow.
and a lot of my friends started getting into it. Started getting into growing, so I just started playing with it. I think I had 5 lights in my spare bedroom for a little bit, and kind of got up to like 15 lights in the garage. Started doing well with that, and then that turned into the next house, and then the next house, and renting houses and stuff. And I could code at night and stuff like that. I was working for myself, so I would, you know, code, and then I'd be playing with plants during the day.
That's cool.
Did
That's
a lot of work down in Sacramento and in the Bay Area. I never really played the out-of-state game. I just tapped all the dispensaries that were down here or down in the Bay.
So you're working 215 and
Oh, yeah.
and that whole time span.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. And then when did you graduate to an industrial warehouse type deal?
I'd say that was about 10 years ago. My partner that I actually started Phinest with, Jay, he ended up passing away a couple years ago, but we bought a property in Penn Valley, so Grass Valley area, and that's where we started. I started cultivating outside in greenhouses. That year, same kind of thing. We did really well, you know, and then one property became 2 properties, and after that, it just started kind of escalating. We did a bunch of grows in Nevada County. Got busted a
Nice.
couple times in Nevada
Yeah.
County. Got chased around. So.
Yeah. And then you guys started getting a name for yourself.
Yeah, we started the brand up there. We played kind of the 215 circuit. We did the high times and the hemp cons, and
Yep.
you know, we were trying to, you know, stay as compliant as you could back then. You know, we used to do like, you know, we get a booth and come sign up, and we'll give you a couple grams, like, you know, give
All
us your
those-
recommendation.
All those emails, all those recs.
Yeah, we had a bunch of people just sitting there snapping pictures, and
Yes,
you know,
sir.
at one point I think we had a scanner and everything. Like we got pretty
Yeah.
sophisticated.
Yeah, no, a lot of
We'd
people
walk
do
out,
that
yep.
shit. Yeah.
had-
We're talking
had
about
500 or 600.
collecting all the recommendations,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
a
we
crazy
paid a
game
lot.
That was a
back in the
good
day.
time, dude.
Man.
That
I
was
remember
fun.
that.
That was fun. It was funny. Like we'd show up with, you know, like a couple duffels, and dispensaries would be around, and dispensaries would like, "What do you got?" like step into the back. It was like
That's dope.
a legal area, kind of. You
It was
felt
great.
safe to be doing.
It was
that.
very
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
You had defense. You had a defense
You did.
with those scripts. What was it, like 20 each person, or every time you got a script was an extra
6 and 12.
6 and 12?
Yeah.
Yeah.
12 immature, 6.
Yeah, so the more you got, the more you can grow because it's your collective.
And you'd hear about it too, about people getting away with it too. That's why you do it, because you'd be like, no, I got all my weed back or something.
Yeah.
You know, I had 2,000 scripts, and you know, you're like, this is insane.
Yeah, in a
Yeah,
binder.
in a
Post it
binder.
up or whatever.
There was a doctor in our town. He might still be there today in Nevada County. It was $200 a head, and there'd be, I mean,
A line.
yeah, these fools are making millions,
Money.
and you knew it. You know,
Those-
you knew what
those
was going
doctors
on.
make
It's
some
like,
money.
yeah, they're
Doctors
smart.
make money.
Yeah, they
I
jumped on that
remember
shit.
What
On
was it,
my
like 150
18th
a piece?
birthday,
Mm-hmm.
I went to a doctor and got my script. And that was
Me
my
too.
the
Yep.
start on my 18th birthday.
My sister made me go get it because her friend needed a script for this situation, and she was like, "You have to do it." And I wasn't really even like on weed like that at that time, but she just dropped me off and was like, "Go do it, and we'll give you some weed at the end of the year."
And then everybody thumbtacked the scripts on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
If you got 2 spots, you have 2 scripts.
Yeah.
Same, they're just photocopied.
We had a good lawyer. And she was like, don't put the same ones at the same spots. So
Yeah.
So that's why we went to the show and got more the what's the seal? You had to fill the seal on the script. I remember that.
And
The
you would do
doctors
that
have
at
to
the
stamp
shows.
it.
Oh yeah,
Oh, no
like we
shit.
literally would have a
See.
scanner,
Mm-hmm.
copier, you know, like have them
Yeah.
sign it. We take a scan of their license, and yeah, our lawyer had hooked us up.
That's
She
good.
she took care of us.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. And you guys got recognized by High Times when High Times was cool, and you guys got a nice feature. And I heard a lot about your partner Jay. I heard he was a real trailblazer for the industry.
Yeah.
He did a lot for the industry, and Dave really put it down for him and laid out to at least us on the partners for rotation how important he was for a lot of things that are going right now.
Yeah, Dave's been in the family for a long time.
Yeah, that's
you know,
really
that
cool.
That whole group is always tight. I was always moving a bunch of flour down. Where was that one dispensary outside off the 50? So yeah.
Off the 50.
Like up towards, not towards Colfax. Off the 50 would be the other side.
No.
Pollock
Yeah,
Pond.
the
Shingle
Shingle
Springs?
Springs.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's Foothill Health and Wellness? Not that one.
Highlands?
Yeah.
Highlands, I think that's
Yeah,
Gotcha,
Highlands Health
gotcha.
and Wellness, yeah.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, that was like part of my rotation. Come down from Truckee, stop there, hit the 50, go down to San Jose, up to San Francisco, and usually hit SAC on the way back.
Yeah.
But that
See-
club was one of your main ones that Highlands Club.
Yeah, Jeremy used to buy a lot.
That's
That's
the
dope.
good old 215 days.
Yeah.
Now they call you a trapper. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. I think that's
Yeah.
all of our origins. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Anybody who's
Yeah.
in the culture, from the culture that has a weed brand right now, it's just, everybody we interview here is the same thing. They started smoking middle school, high school,
Yeah.
started figuring out they can sell enough to get free weed, and then after high school, it's like they started branching out to
Yeah.
flipping ounces to QPs to half pounds to pounds,
Yeah.
then to 5 packs, and then the story just
That's it.
continues. They dip into the they dip right into the 215. Everybody went to their lawyer, paid their $3,500, got their collect, or probably more in the
I was
beginning.
gonna say you had
Yeah.
a better lawyer than I did.
Yeah.
Cheaper lawyer.
Well, they started doing it cheaper and cheaper as it went on, and then 64 hit. And how was your transition into Prop 64?
It was rough. So, we were growing in Nevada County, and Nevada County actually decided that they were going to ban all commercial cultivation right before 64 hit. And we were pretty heavily invested. We had, 5 or 6 grows going throughout the county. And a bunch of us got together and looked at how do we flip the vote. So they banned commercial cultivation and then put it out to everyone to vote and said, do you want this here or not? And so it was the first time I've ever seen a bunch of hippies and a bunch of weed people actually come together and be we're all going to work together on something. It was pretty cool.
That's
we
cool.
we worked really hard, like attacked the county because it's a big county. Truckee is actually, in the eastern part of the county, so I kind of attacked that. Held a bunch of really, cool events at some of the bars and restaurants and stuff up there, and then all of us kind of got together and watched the results come in, and I think within like the first 10-15 minutes or like you guys flipped the vote. It was like ended up with a 75%.
Right.
That must have been a good
Stoners
feeling.
don't vote.
I mean, the
but
fact
when
that
we do,
the fact
well,
that
no
they
one was
tried to shut it
organized.
down is crazy in that town. I mean,
that's a
That's-
weed-driven town.
that's where I'm from, and it's like it's nuts.
And I remember this one girl, she was actually at Columbia back in New York, and her father was a grower. She like flipped all the data from the sheriff. The sheriff put out a bunch of data. She grabbed it all and like proved that there was like something like $60 million of tax money going through Nevada County.
Yeah.
Sales tax, and just like the numbers he had given. So everyone realized like, that part of the eastern part of the county like is hurting, and this was like supporting the economy
It's their
at the
livelihood.
Yeah, I don't know why more counties don't understand the amount of money it can bring into a small town like
absolutely.
Nevada County. They're still just turned off to the idea, but if they just came around to it, they can understand that it could help all the things they need help with.
Yeah.
Well,
You
they're
know.
still like those counties are still being run by the old heads, and the old heads
Yeah.
still see it as reefer madness. They still
know.
like demonize it, and they probably just think it's a non-productive drug that can
Yeah.
murder society.
Yeah.
Like they're
And
crazy.
that county, so it's so polar.
It
It's
is,
like
yeah.
you have super progressive, super liberal people, and then you have super conservative.
Redneck, white trash type of
Yeah.
folks.
And a lot of people would say that, it's the devil's lettuce, and like
Yeah.
it was all reefer madness shit that had been, just
drilled into them.
Oh, yeah.
Drilled. When the government still that was a time when the government said something and all of our parents and our grandparents listened. That's what it was. JFK said it, Reagan said it, that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a bad thing. Nowadays, like, we're all questioning the fucking government. There's no trust anymore. We don't have a hero to look at like JFK or Martin Luther King type. We have no hero right
It's
now.
unfortunate. You got like pharmaceutical companies, just and then you got the media. There's just too much shit where it's just like, oh fuck. Yeah, you guys fucked up too much, and that's why I think people are like that today. They've lost a lot of trust, which is it's unfortunate, but
It is. So
yeah, after the vote, we ended up flipping it, and then the county was like, well, we want to take our time. They wanted to do the full environmental impact report, so that's like a year and a half. But they still banned all commercial cultivation. So there was a handful of us that, as we started coming out and like talking to the press and just like helping push it forward, the sheriff took notice of a lot of us, and
I bet.
we had, like I said, 6 or 8 grows going, and all of a sudden, one by one, they just started getting hit.
Wow.
Living in the county, having a family, had 2 small kids at the time, and they're showing up, knocking on the door, things like that. And it was just like, at that point I had put all my chips on the table. I walked away from all the software and stuff I was doing, and cannabis was just my main focus. So we were like, we got to do something. So we ended up like selling off all of our properties, all of our projects we were doing for, I'd say, probably like quarters on the dollar, and then ran all around California, looked at a lot of different spots, like some really bad spots. Like, I remember we went down to Needles, and there was just we went to some, because a lot of those counties and cities, like, they understood that there was money to be made and jobs and stuff. And
You
so,
probably didn't have much money too.
no, not at all.
Victorville.
But then you
and
fuck
shit like
around and
that.
get in Adelanto, and they like remember. I don't remember what got released, but somebody stole a lot of money. Yeah, they were like, "Yeah, come on down, dude. We'll take
I
it."
think Yolo County almost did that, or was it what was the county right close to us here? They allowed everybody to apply. And
No, Calaveras.
Calaveras.
Is that Calaveras? They
And
allowed
Calaveras
everybody
grows
to fucking
fire too.
apply.
Like, there's a lot of
And
good
they
weed
cut
coming
'em.
out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. They ever
Remember
lift that?
Yuba County did that shit.
Yuba.
Yeah, Yuba.
That's what I
In
was.
the
Oh,
doing.
you were talking about
in
you-
the 215.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
did it in Calaveras too, and in Calaveras they have lifted it now, and actually you can grow like acres out there.
Wow.
So like we're in Nevada County right now. It's what 10,000 per 20 acres is what you get for canopy. We're out there. If you have like a 40-acre plot, I think you can grow up to like a couple acres.
Wow.
Which is insane, And so Calaveras is a great spot if you're looking to expand like that.
Yeah.
But Nevada County is still a little bit more boutique style,
Right.
and they wanted to keep it that way. I think that was by design. The thought was we'll be able to like really empower the small growers in our town here.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think what they didn't realize is like overnight the scale of what a small grower meant changed like drastically.
Yeah.
Right.
And so like 10K, they were thinking, that's enough to compete. Whereas like, dude, not even close, especially if you're not branded and you don't have, your shit together and you haven't been doing this for years. There's no way you can charge people the price that, that you may need to charge for your business to make it. And so it ends up being quite challenging for those small growers in our town because they don't want to necessarily leave the hill. They want to just do their thing and bulk out weed, but it's more difficult now than it's ever been because you're competing with these guys who got millions and can burn it every month, and that's fine. That's what they do. Yeah, and
That's true.
and have a brand exactly.
And they're vertically integrated to where they run their 6 clubs. They run everything through. So, like Sacramento, man, I'm watching all these clubs getting eaten up by like one brand type like colas and shit like that. Like, it's that's controlling the retail.
They've
end
been
of things.
they've been doing that for a minute, right?
Supply chain
Yeah.
type thing.
Cole's been in the scene. If you're in Sac and the scene, who runs the town. There's a few people, and they've been here forever. And I think you just got to respect that a little bit, and learn how to adapt into it.
Right.
Yeah.
How many clubs are allowed in Nevada City?
Just
there's-
one right
I
now.
think they just opened another one in Grass Valley.
Yeah, I believe there was an application for a second permit, but there was just one up in Nevada City.
Elevation.
Elevation 2477. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, we were almost thinking about having our lab up there at one point, but it just couldn't go.
Beautiful up there.
Through. Yeah, it's
That's
nice.
sweet.
It
Gorgeous.
is. That's a hit. Grass Valley's a hidden gem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still think it's one of the best microclimates in California for
Yeah.
cannabis.
And why
It's
do
some
you
of the best.
why do you think that? What makes it that way?
Like Humboldt and Mendocino, you'll deal with some fog and some mold issues, coming off the coast. Sac, Yolo, the valley, you just deal with the heat. And
Dryness.
I grew in Yolo County for the last 4 years, and it's rough. I mean, the first year we went in, everything was gorgeous and crushing, and then all of a sudden, like a 50-year storm rolls through, and there's 50-mile-an-hour sustained winds for a week, and like greenhouses are flying away, and like,
YOLO is hell for growing. If anybody doesn't know out there, don't grow in YOLO anymore, dude. It's tough.
But it was
You
a-
got
it was a
fire.
land
You
grab.
got wind.
We had
you
a
got
3-acre plot
tornadoes.
out there too at one point, and I put one of my friends out there. He's a great grower, and he was like, "Bro, this is different," because he's from Grass
Growing
Valley.
in a desert
Yeah,
type
yeah.
deal?
He was like, I mean, I can't really do what I do out here. I was like, oh shit, and it slowly
Yeah,
started to become
it's-
apparent after more and more people would get licenses because they were the first ones to open up. And then, next thing you know, you're like, oh shit, that yellow weed's not,
Yeah.
not coming out right.
It's not real California.
It has very
Water
crafted. Yeah.
issues, like,
Well,
it's-
don't you have
it's
like the
rough.
water runoff from the
All the
ri-
agriculture?
Yeah, the ag back there,
boron.
the
Oh,
planes that are
shit.
flying, spraying all types of shit in the
and
air.
the shit gets
The
tested.
soil's been ran through.
Oh
yeah.
yeah. The
Wow.
test, yeah.
Can
Fail a
is
batch,
that
you
is,
can fail a
has
batch
those
that way.
has those planes and the
I've
pesticides things
heard
been
rumors
fucking
of that. I
good?
can't say if it's happened or not, but I've definitely heard people saying that shit.
It's calmed down the first couple of years out there. The growers, when they were the ones that were starting to fail, there's regulations where the ag, that you can't spray if the wind is too much, or there's all these rules and regulations that a lot of the ag people weren't following. So the growers got together, threatened lawsuits on the big farms unless they started to calm down and play by the rules. So that kind of cleaned it up in YOLO.
Wow.
We were lucky. We were kind of out in the middle of nowhere. We had some organic grapes around us.
Yeah.
But we were lucky, but I watched a lot of friends got overspray and from pesticides and stuff. And
if you think about it, those farmers have probably been there for 40 years, been doing the same thing, no one bothering them. Then the grow community came in like, hey, fucking cut that shit out.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, or smoke, I think smoke damage was causing some trouble a year ago or 2 years ago to some crops. Last 2 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was just saying, we forget so quick that like fire season's about to come again.
Yeah,
it's been so nice the past few months, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm back in California. Yeah, and just wait. You're gonna wake up one morning and be like, oh shit, here it comes, and it looks like hell outside.
It got thick last year. Last year here in Sac, like here in Roseville, Lincoln, I know there's a Caldor fire over at Placerville, and then I know there was one up in Yuba area, and man, it was thick here. I know, was it thick in Yolo too?
Yeah, it was bad.
Wow. Okay.
2 years ago it was really bad. That Vacaville fire came. It didn't really affect the crop, but it stayed like the smoke layer was right above us. It affected us in yield and percentages because there's just like no sun. Like we had a bunch of solar out there.
Air.
Like the batteries wouldn't charge. It was so thick that it just wouldn't penetrate. So you put the plants in there, flip them, and they'd grow like 3 inches. And you're like, what is wrong?
Shit.
You know. And
so do you guys substitute some lighting now or?
No, not yet. It was we just got power. Like we had PG&E like pulling power for the last 4 years.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean,
1 inch at a time, huh? 1 inch a day.
Yeah.
Oh,
something like that.
Wow.
I mean, PG&E just doesn't give a shit about anybody. Not just the industry.
Didn't they go
but
like
anybody.
bankrupt from all the fires? What happened?
They settled.
The state bailed them out.
No, they had a
Chapter of-
settlement.
Guess
They
you kinda
did a
have to, though.
settlement.
It's like, you know.
Yeah,
we
I
all
think
need.
they lightweight, like real quickly bankrupt, and then they're back.
Yeah.
And then they hiked up the rates, and
See, the only business I've ever seen where the more you use, the higher the price goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
dude.
usually it's the other
No,
way
yeah.
around.
opposite of Costco.
Bold discount.
I know we're good customers, man. Like,
Yeah.
man, we're buying bulk.
And everybody's paying the bill because if not, the lights go off. So they're
Right.
getting their money.
They
It's
have
crazy.
to. That's crazy. So I mean, just the different cities in California, you get different type of product without being really in on your honing in on your skills.
Yeah. Nevada County, you get some of the heat from the valley, and it kind of starts coming up the mountains, and just got good airflow, and just the temperatures are right. You have a good change from the day to night, which is important for cannabis. That I've seen. You get a good like 15-20 degree swing from day to night, and the flower really likes it.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's Nevada County doing their
Yeah,
thing. Like,
530.
that's where the fire's coming from.
out.
Yeah.
But that's cool, man. I wanted to ask about tissue cultures, cannabis tissue cultures. What are they? How do you get it, and what are they used for?
I'll actually tell you a pretty funny story. So, kind of going back to growing in Truckee, I had. I'll go back a little further. One of the funny things was growing weed up there. Even now, like a lot of people ask me, like, how do you have such connections for those for those strains that like nobody else can find, but like you always had like some of the best strains in California that like no one would give out. And the funny thing was like people from Humboldt and Mendo, when they really started doing the breeding and the genetic work, most of those guys would actually crop out, and then they come to Tahoe in the winter. And they would ski and snowboard and just hang out in
Take
Tahoe.
a break.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is that they wouldn't. They would still have they would fire up a 6-lighter in the garage because like they couldn't stop,
Right.
And so I ended up starting to meet a lot of them, become friends with them, and I'd be like, oh, I'm starting to grow, and they're like, okay, well, here's some genetics, like. So I actually got the Thin Mint cookie, the original Thin Mint. That's well over 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago, I think. And it
just
actually,
from some dude in Tahoe, or?
Yeah, from a buddy. That he was just, he brought it to me and he was like, this is going to be the next thing. He's like, just don't give it to anybody. And I was like, okay. And I remember the first time I grew it, I was like looking at it like on the day I was chopping, I was like, fuck man, like I'm not getting shit for weight. Like this sucks. And I almost like threw it away, and then I think I hit like 1.5 pounds of light, and I was like, that's not bad, you know, but it was so fire, so dark, so loud. Yeah. And it loved, like I was saying, it loved like getting that cold air coming through. It just gets so much darker, and started learning how to grow it. But I used to, like I said, bring it down to the bay a lot. I used to bring it to Sac. And one time I was bringing a load down to Purple Lotus in San Jose. I drop it off, I leave, and they call me up and they're like, have you had any issues with like seeds? And I was like, no. I was like, I look at my plants pretty good. Like I didn't notice any instability. And like, yeah, there's a bunch of seeds in a couple of these pounds. And I was like, I'm sorry. And they're like, yeah, whatever, just make it up. But it started happening more and more of the strain, and I was like, I couldn't figure it out. And back then, we all talked on message boards, you know, like IC Mag, like a bunch of these, you know, like little forums, yeah.
That's cool.
And I started searching through the forums and trying to figure out what was going on with this genetic, because like I gave it to one other person and he started having the issue too. So started doing some research, and back then there was a guy out of Oakland, his name was Bill Graham, and he would actually sell in hydro stores this tissue culture kit. So I kind of bumped into him on the forums, and he was talking about how tissue culture will reset your genetics. So you take it through this process. It starts with a sterilization process. You take a little clipping, you throw it into some hydrogen peroxide, and you kind of sterilize it for a second, and then you put it into this agar, which is just a mix of hormones. And you actually don't root, you are just this mix of hormones are actually giving you interspatial noding, so the plant's actually just growing vertically, but it's a sterilized environment. And there's a whole, you know, a kind of a deeper process it goes through, but through that process it actually can reset the genetic back to what it was from like a seed.
Oh wow.
So I like went down this whole rabbit hole, started understanding the science and stuff, but at that point I'm growing in the garage in Truckee, and I took like 200 cuts, and I think all but 2 got mold, and I think 2 of them made it to like the next round, and then those got mold, and just kept on trying it, and then it went nowhere. It's, you know, tissue culture you actually need to be in a very sterile lab environment, and I literally was, you know, doing this like right next to my plants and, you know, watering and stuff. So it didn't work.
A lot of overspray.
That's what always trips me out though, is like so many of our spaces were, you know, they were beat. Yeah, they were not compliant. Like, spaces, you know, it's funny. That's why every time I think I go to Preferred Gardens, I'm always blown away by how fucking clean, like, you know, and that's different. That's on the rec scene, obviously, and I'm sure he did that when he was doing other shit too. But like, fuck, I remember our labs and shit. But as long as you like kind of quarantine the product and you understood, you really cared about it, you could still keep it clean, you know. And fireweed and fire hash would come out of it. And now today, the lengths you have to go to for compliance things, I mean, it's a little insane, you know. And I don't even know if the product's any better than it was when we were doing it. You know, like
back in the day, also you didn't have specialty cannabis made products for what you need it for. Yeah. It was a lot of rigging. It was a lot of, you know, like even like, let's say the trimming trays, the fact that they have 2 dips here for your hands, that's like innovating from our culture,
got, like,
from
the
our
key screens and shit.
Yeah.
Now,
So even for growing, I'm sure they have like these connection pieces now that you guys rigged probably 2 vents together, did this, then that. like to, I don't know what, but there's a lot of like MacGyvering back 100%. In the day, and we're spoiled now with the tech going up and up and up, and companies really, really honing in on the cannabis industry and building out stuff to make our lives easier. Yeah. And that's what's really cool. Like cart filling, like having an actual cart filler, like back 5-6 years ago, bro. That was syringe, your fingers
keeping
hurting.
that warm, the oil keeping it warm the whole time.
Have to keep going back in and out of the oven.
Yeah, my homies had built like a sick little contraption, and I remember one day I saw it and I was like, "Oh my god, you figured it out!" This is before like, and there's like, you're
just like, "Whoa, I need that." Yeah. But the game changer for me is the fucking top spinner, dude.
What's the top spinner?
After you fill the cart and then you stick it in the thing and you spin it.
I still got the press-ons on mine. That's
that was hard, dude. Doing like 1,000 of those, twisting the top on the top. Next one, and then you got to alcohol it and all that stuff. But dude, that would hurt your finger and your thumb would be numb at the end of the night. Like that shit sucks, dude. Yeah. So tissue cultures, you're still trying to figure it out. Yeah. You had an unsterile environment.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, kind of fast forward a couple years later, we kind of backed out of everything in Nevada County. Kind of ran all around California, and then ended up coming to Sacramento and had some opportunities in Sacramento. During that time, we saw a lot of friends like kind of ran down to Salinas, and that's where we started learning about overspray. Salinas Valley, there's a couple of like really bad pesticides, microbutanol. They're systemic, and
that's Eagle 20.
Eagle 20. Yeah, that's 20. The one.
Yeah. And a lot of my friends were all about growing organically and stuff down there, and then all of a sudden they started popping for these pesticides, and they're like, I don't understand it, and we started figuring out the overspray issue. People were starting to the flower would test, but then the concentrate would start popping.
Concentrated the pesticide.
Yeah, and then that one in particular was systemic. So when we were building our grow out in YOLO, we started testing some of the genetics that everyone was sharing. Back then everyone was sharing genetics, and you never know what someone else sprayed on it. Coming from the the 215 into the regulated, so we knew that we were going to have an issue. Some of our other friends kind of beat us to getting licenses and stuff, and we started seeing that they were having these issues. So we kind of put our heads together and said, this is something that we need to kind of go after, because with the use of systemic pesticides in the 215 days, the only way to clean it up was to actually go through tissue culture. Some of the like microbutanol can stay in there for 5 or 6 generations.
That's what I started hearing when Prop 64 hit. That was the thing. They were saying that it can transfer from the plant into the next clone in 5 years, down the line, and you're still testing positive.
Yeah, it usually doesn't show up in the flower; it shows up in the concentrate.
Right.
Wow. But, so then, taking it back to that kind of reversing it that way, basically takes it to a clean version of it. Yeah. Essentially.
Yeah. So through that whole process, it literally turns it back to a seed. You actually get, if you've ever cracked a seed, the plant at the juvenile stage will actually, all its branching becomes uniform. And so through tissue culture, that process, you get the full reset of a genetic. And there's different levels. There's, I would say we were probably the first commercial nursery, which actually ironically happened by just by chance. We were building out our YOLO grow. We kept on hitting these roadblocks, and actually I'll take a step back again. But we kind of searched around for someone that could help us with tissue culture. We found this group outside of Sacramento that was doing it on traditional agricultural plants.
Right.
And we approached them, and it was a long, drawn-out process. Like, they're scientists. Like, they wanted nothing to do with cannabis.
Right. No, that's
They
not
were
their
like-
realm.
Yeah.
They were, like, freaked out. Now I just had a funny conversation because one of them was kind of doing it in his garage, and he would bring these plants home, and his kids would be like, "That's a weird-looking almond, Dad." You know?
Yeah, it sure is.
So, but yeah, we formed a partnership, and it was more like an R&D. Like, nobody was really doing it at a commercial scale yet. It was been talked, and no one really had figured it out with cannabis. Cannabis is unique. It's all these different plants usually will have, one or two agar types, so a mix of hormones for that plant. We had taken like over 200 cultivars through, and we had like 40 or 50 agar types, different mixes. So the plant's really unique where, if you've grown long enough, like an OG likes, hardly any nutrients, or, you can take something else that you can pump the nutrients, so cannabis is definitely unique. And tissue culture, like we saw, like we had tons and tons of R&D. We were honestly just trying to do it for our own stock, knowing that we were going into, a commercial area. We needed to have our plants clean, and we started hitting these roadblocks, and with developing in YOLO, and all of a sudden our partners started figuring out tissue culture with cannabis, and all of a sudden all these plants are like multiplying. And tissue culture is like kind of an exponential growth. Like, you can take 3 plants, those 3 plants can turn into 17 plants, and those 17 plants can turn into 100 plants. Like, it goes up. The multiplication rate just starts, exponentially growing.
What do you mean by that? Like, what? So they take a clone, and then you take it through the sanitation process, and then you promote the growth of the roots.
Actually, no. You're actually no promoting of the roots. You're actually just you're manipulating the hormones just for the plant to grow up. Like, just like a mother, like a traditional, like when you want the mother to grow up, and you start cutting it down, taking the nodes.
But a TC mother, you can cut. You're saying 7? Would you say 7? Like,
it really there's a couple different like variables, but
in this case, you wouldn't want the roots to be growing really, because you're caring about what's coming up there, not necessarily like how much growth you're getting on the bottom. And
correct.
So just to be clear, so you have I'm sorry, I just need the visual.
Yeah.
You have the clone, right? And it's been sterilized and everything. You have it in what type of contraption so it can
It's
grow?
kind of little deli dish.
Okay, I got you.
And that's the other part of TC. You can produce mass amounts of plants in a very small space.
oh, sure.
Right.
So it's you're instead of square footage, you're talking cubic feet. So you can really take a small space. Like we were in 4,500 square feet for the last couple of years, and we were able to do hundreds of thousands of plants out of it.
Yeah.
So what is holding it upright? If it doesn't have roots, soil, or a base,
It gets like a little callus. It's kind of like creates this little nub, but the agar actually, when you stick it into there, it's kind of like Jello.
Okay,
honestly.
so that's
Yeah,
where it
that
gets
gives you the
its-
vertical stabilization.
and then it starts growing, and then you're just hitting it off the top, and then do you let it grow out enough to where you can hit 17 different clones on one mother?
No, I mean, they're still like, you're talking 4 or 5 inches, little deli jar.
Okay.
I got you.
So as that starts to grow, you just start whacking it down and then replugging those into new deli dishes.
How
Okay.
tall do they ever get? Like, what's the tallest they're gonna get?
Like 2 inches.
Okay, gotcha.
So how
Pretty
long
stays
does it
pretty small.
take to keep growing?
It's strain dependent. Some
Right.
can go really quick. Usually, like from the initiation process to a commercial process, it's anywhere from 8 to 12 months. If you find the right balance of hormones and things. But yeah, it usually takes about 8 to 12 months
That's
for
a long time.
yeah.
That's
It is.
patience, bro.
It is, and this industry doesn't like that.
Yeah.
Like
Would you
We
say
need
that's
it
the
now.
most challenging part about it?
Absolutely.
Is just that you just have to be kind of a year ahead.
Yeah. We you know, with
ahead.
64, it was, you know, I would say it was a lot easier then, you know, like now it's so competitive, and strains, you know, are what build or break brands. And now it's, you know, we do 10 to 15 strains a year, and you're literally guessing what the market wants a year from now.
Right.
You know, it's just like throwing things at the wall, hoping that, you know, 8 to 10 of them stick.
Right.
We've had a couple years ago, everyone wanted OGs back. We started ramping up. I had this great OG, started ramping it up. Time it hit the market, everyone's like, I don't want that.
Wow.
Now they want it again, though.
Yeah,
they want it again.
I'm salty about that. I'm like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear
OGs on the
it.
Don't be salty, bro. We
thousands of
gotta keep
plants.
the gas around.
I'm from New York. That's all I want is gas.
Yeah, I know. Come on, you're
New
gonna
York
grow
sour
it.
Diesel.
Yeah.
That's where it came.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. And then you currently have a clone
Yeah.
nursery.
Yeah.
You
We
guys
have a
have a
nursery
nursery?
here in Sacramento.
And then do you guys think that you played a good part doing your tissue cultures to get everybody out of the traditional market into the white market with cleaner plants and clones and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, being able to take it through that process, you know, can restart the genetic. You know, it whether it's from us or any other TC nursery. Now there's a couple bigger ones that are here in California, and it's the best start. You know, the vigor, the symmetric branching, and the cleanliness of the plant. It's a superior product.
Wow,
for growing.
That's really cool. I learned something today.
That's sick.
That's something
Yeah,
that
so-
I've been seeing on like different you know, YouTubes or things, and I'm always wondering like, what the fuck is a cannabis tissue culture? I've never been to a lab that had it, and I've been to quite a few, but it seems to be a very special specialty.
Yeah.
That not many. How many people in California do you think specialize in tissue culture?
There's another big lab that's in Sacramento, but I'd say there's only like 2 or 3 labs that are really doing.
See,
There's different levels of tissue culture too, like that whole 8 to 12 month process I was talking about. Most of them will kind of skip out on that, and that it doesn't actually turn back the clock on the genetic. Like it'll put it through like a sterilization process, and there might have been a pest or a pathogen that the grower didn't know about.
Right.
So just like putting it through the sterilization process will actually, you know, show some vigor. But the biggest, being a cultivator, the biggest thing I've noticed is that whole process of the juvenile trait. So I've noticed like a 25 to 30% reduction in veg time. You know, like most people will top their plants to get that symmetrical branching.
right.
It creates like a little bush, right? And the plants will actually naturally develop that way through tissue culture.
Okay, so you don't have to top.
No.
Does it even
That's
do
cool.
it to where you don't have to lollipop?
Yeah. I mean, you'll actually get more of like a
Top canopy type deal?
yeah.
That's really cool. So you do tissue culture, you have a nursery, you have a grow, and you also breed.
Yeah. That's
What
my real passion.
That's your shit right
Yeah.
there. So that brings me into my question. Like, what was it? What's the best strain you've ever grown? Come on.
That's a tough question to answer.
I asked the tough questions.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm a geek. I'm a nerd. Like I'll look at some and people will be like, I'll be like, oh, this is special. And they're like, that's dog shit. What are you talking about?
So what's
But
the one that you came out with
honestly,
that
like
all your friends are like, whoa?
I honestly, like for me, I still go back to that the original Thin Mint.
The original Thin Mint.
Yeah.
It's funny, like, you know, like in business or, you know, in like, you kind of have that like aha moment, right? You know, and that TC plant, or sorry, that Thin Mint plant actually started me on my whole process of trying to learn about tissue culture, how to reset that genetic. And then on the other side of things, my cousin was actually growing this plant in Santa Cruz, and he was actually neighbors with my late partner Jay, and Jay would always like look over the fence, be like, "What is that? Like, give me a cut of that." He's like, "I can't get a cut. I can't get you a cut." And so he would, we started hanging out, and me and Jay, and he would be like, "Can I get a cut of that?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "I'll open up to new clubs that you're not in." And I was like, okay. So, after a couple months of
beating you down,
I finally gave it up. And so for me, like, I still think that plant holds a lot close because it started my company, and opportunity, and then that actually started me and Jay working together, which ultimately led down the path of creating the brand and the vision, going forward with what we built.
That's dope. So what are you excited about right now? What is current strains that you're kind of knocking out the park right now?
That's one of them. That's like part of
Snacks.
Oh, Snacks. Is he
Snacks?
Snacks?
So
so as the breeder, how do you pronounce it?
That one, Davey kind of named that one.
Okay.
But, that was actually a collaboration between the Chauffeur, which is Wedding Cake Skittles Sunday Driver, was one of the parents of that. And then my indoor cultivation manager, Ian, he took and hit it with the Runts. So kind of put it together. He actually called it the Lemmings. It was kind of a knock on like how a lot of people just kind of follow a couple people, and when they tell them there's something that's hot and
hyped it.
Yeah. But yeah, Dave, he pheno hunted it and found that one. So,
yeah, we tried it. It's really good.
There's so
I
many.
smoked some.
Incredible.
It was fire. Yeah.
There's so many. Like right now, I just did. He found another one for me, which is the apples and bananas to biscotti.
That's right.
Yeah, that one's
So-
special.
That one too.
That one's
That
special.
one's good.
That's probably my favorite one right now.
Nice.
I love the apples and bananas, like the old GDP in there. You can really smell, but I felt like it needed something more. So
That old GDP's coming back too.
yeah, that was good stuff. I like that.
I think it's gonna.
And the
it'll be around.
Granddaddy I always felt like the real strain never had that much purple. Like
There were definitely those lighter green batches. I remember seeing some of those indoor batches. I mean, they would come out of Oakland most of the times, and yeah, it was actually kind of rare. The green ones, and they were
I got
fire.
a few of those sometimes, and I was like, what's purple about this one? It's nothing like Purple Kush. Purple Kush was like
Purple Kush.
Wow.
That's one of my favorites.
Purple Kush
too.
is one of my favorites.
That's gone. I haven't seen that.
That one had a
still
distinct.
kind of kicking around up in Nevada County.
Really?
I heard a couple of people still
I mean,
have
it definitely was growing up there when I was growing up.
lot.
That was all around, and people are blowing it up indoor, outdoor. But
Purple
I
Kush
haven't
was-
seen that in
God, that was
over
rappers,
10 years
rappers
at least.
forever. If you had Purple Kush, you could sell it to anybody. Anybody would buy it.
That's
Oh my God,
it was
so
the runts
easy.
of
We were
before.
lucky. We had a grower out of Newcastle, right above Auburn, that pumped out Purple Kush like no other. Like he had it, and God, it kind of got us a lot of our reputation. Like my brother John was good friends with him, and we would wow people every time we'd show them. Like he was crystalled out. It was fire.
Yeah.
That and this strain called Odyssey. It was little orange hairs. It was good. It had a different smell, different taste. It was different. But he discontinued. He stopped that. He's into solar now.
This year's been tough. I mean, like this, I've watched a lot of friends, be in this industry for a long time, just finally hang it up.
Yeah.
This industry, or this last year, hurt a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing pounds go for $250.
Yeah,
How are you gonna do that?
It's crazy.
Actually, I heard.
I'm always curious. They're like eights going for like 50 cents on like the street.
All
It's
right,
like
right now,
these street hustlers, I think, are coming the fuck up. Is what I
Too
think.
much.
Yeah, more
like
power to them, I
$16,
guess.
I
But
think.
crazy, dude.
16
really,
or something.
$16.
Yep.
For probably
16.
a decently fired eighth, probably depth.
It's our in-house brand. That's when it's on special. Otherwise, it's usually.
Oh, and that's
$20.
rec. You're talking.
Rec,
about.
right.
Yeah,
Pre-tax though.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
pre-tax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Add the taxes on there. Gets up
I
there
think
pretty quick.
That's the
Are there
thing that
rec pounds going for $250?
Oh yeah, on
Yeah,
bulk
dude.
market.
I heard
shit.
one like one of
get
my
it.
boys got sold like $1.08. That's 128, bro.
It's got to be some fucked up weed
No,
or what?
I think
Like,
it's there's so much, and they're trying to dump it before it
Yeah.
expires on them.
I get
Yeah,
So
that.
it's
yeah.
like just get
Moving it.
something, get something.
Yeah.
I don't even know how you could produce something that low, at that low of cost. It's like a lot.
It's hard.
It's not possible.
So I
No.
just wonder where this game's gonna go after these last few months, dude. Like I don't know. Since
It'll
the end
reset.
of last year,
You know,
Has to.
It will,
Better.
yeah. Just like anything else, it's like the people who can tread water and keep their head above long enough to just stay alive. You know, you just make it through. Eventually, that market share gets eaten up again. You know, like there's tons of grows right now that are on sale for cheap. Right? We look at a ton of them, and it's tough, but that's the reality of the situation. Yeah.
the only pro I'm seeing out of this is retail for cannabis is dropping. I mean, retail cost.
Yeah.
What they ripped us off like 3-4 years ago is that price is not today's price.
Yeah, it's
They're
coming
they're
down.
trying
Finally.
to they're trying to fucking get these spots that were made for grow rented. And you know what, dude? Those landlords got greedy for a while there. They got
Yeah.
greedy.
Charging $3 a square foot plus like a percentage of your,
Mhm.
your
Yes.
business. And
So, you know, during 2007, right before Prop 64 hit, I think the people that really made the money, bro, was the lawyers, the consultants, and the fucking lawyers, consultants, and who's the last one?
Retails or
The landlords.
landlords.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Landlords,
Landlords,
bro.
for sure.
Those three people
money.
were winning.
Yeah, but they went after the landlords, right? With the DEA, throw all that shit in the sack a little bit. That's kind of what they did. I think they
that's-
pressed the
those were
landlords.
ones
Slapped
that they
them with
put
some
before.
fines.
Yeah, they were
$10,000
fuck, they were
fine.
shutting them down left and
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're making 250
No, you're
off the
right,
grow.
you're
That
right.
$10,000.
I mean, LA was
fine.
the king of that shit. They just, if they'd slap you down one day, you'd pop up around
Yeah.
the block the
Whack-a-mole.
next day. You would
Exactly.
vend to shops, and they'd be like, "No, I'm over here now."
Yeah.
You'd be like,
it's
"What
still
the
it's
fuck?"
still like that in LA.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
still pop-ups that
Yeah.
pop around. You know?
It's
crazy.
a
Yeah, I
Wild
see-
West, baby.
LA is
Stores
crazy.
getting shut down, and I'm like, damn, they're still doing it.
This is the last
It's
of
too
the
big
Cowboys.
of a city. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't wrap your hands around it.
No.
There's
No,
too
you
many
can't.
people. That's
Yeah.
why it's so crazy. That's why
Can't
it's so
stop it.
fun.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, this is a beast of a city. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
people are doing crazy shit everywhere.
That's true.
Yeah, stop it, dude.
True.
So, Christian, we heard about you. I want to switch it over to Carter, and I want to know where you from and
Yeah.
how'd you get to where you are, man.
I mean, we already talked a lot about where I'm from, which is Nevada County, Grass Valley, and you know, coming up in that town, you definitely saw weed. You know, throughout my whole life, get high in high school. You know, but I played a lot of sports in high school, and so it wasn't like a thing for me yet. I
Right.
kind of just like on the weekends here
It was
and there.
recreational.
Yeah, it was just recreational, and honestly, I wasn't like in love with getting high right off the bat. You know, it took me a minute, I think, till I was 18. When I was saying earlier, when my sister said, you got to get your script."
Yeah.
That was kind of the beginning of everything. Up until that point, I really hadn't seen any like grows, hadn't been out to like a bunch of spots in town, so it was really eye-opening when I first went and got that script. And they gave me like, I think, you know, £1 that year or something. That's what they would give you for your script. And it's funny, that was like 2006 probably, I guess, 2007 at that time. And that's where it all started, right? When I got that first £1, I was like, well, fuck, I mean, I want to make a few grand. Like, I got to do something with this.
What was
Yeah.
the split? It was always a consistent
Yeah.
split. It was, you remember the 6? You get the 6, and out of the 6, they give you 2 plants, and they
Yeah.
take the 4.
I forget. There was always a deal you could make, though. It was either you take the weed or you take less cash, I think.
Right,
That's what it
something like
was.
that.
They're like, you can either take this £1 or you can take, you know, $1,000.
Right.
And, you know, back then in 2006, outdoor even was like 2,800 if you were going to Reno or the Bay even, you know. It was like you could get shit off all day at that point. And so, yeah, I made the decision, like, I guess, fuck it, I'm going to take the £1, you know. And I just graduated. I was going to school at Sac State. I really didn't have my shit together then. I was just partying too much and doing too much shit. And so Sac State was crazy. Had a job at Olive Garden, started selling weed like at Olive Garden.
Yeah.
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 and I hated it, to be
Breadsticks,
honest.
bro.
Like it wasn't the best time. Like I was just trying to survive. I had this £1, but like that $3,000 gave me like a little bit of life. I was like, oh shit, like I've never even had any money saved in my life. Like at least I have something now, and this was kind of cool. And so I did it every year after that, up until I moved to Reno, which was like 2 years later. I got on academic probation at Sac State, and my mom was like, you gotta get the fuck out of this town. Like it's not good for you, you know.
Right.
And so I went up to Reno, and let me think. The first person I moved in with was a homie, and he needed, just like once again during that harvest year, he needed a pound. And so that year I sold that pound to him, and that kind of started off just a crazy relationship. Moving weed, you know, from Grass Valley to Nevada. And I mean,
was that your first pack sell?
Yeah.
Yeah. You tasted that quick money?
Yeah. And
dog.
you get addicted to that shit pretty quick, right? You're like, fuck it. Like,
Brown paper bag.
yeah, it's the first time you've ever seen cash. So you're like, you know what? This is kind of crazy, but I think I'm going to keep doing it, keep pursuing it. And me and that homie just kept selling weed through college, dude. Kept running from GV to Reno. Had a couple grows that I started up in town, and like finally kind of got a hold of it. And things were great for a while, man. Things were cruising. Like, everything was all good. I was like, shit, I might be able to do this for the rest of my life, you know? I was going to school to be a teacher at the time. So I was like, it was funny. My senior year in college, I had to TA at, like, a high school in Reno.
Oh, shit.
And so, like, I would show up to these fucking TAs, like, lit, you know? And, like, these kids are, like, not much younger than me at this point. I'm, like, 23, probably 24. And then I got to, like, teach. And that was the first time where I was like, oh, fuck, dude.
Fuck this.
You're on the wrong fucking path. Like, this is not where you're supposed to be.
Maybe I don't have patience for kids.
Yeah, my dad was a teacher. My granddad was a teacher. I thought it was, like, what I was supposed to do, you know? But I really didn't know what I wanted to do all through college. So the weed kept me grounded. Like, I think it was like that for a lot of people. Like, it just was that center thing that, like, you could rely on that made you little money, kept you, like, introduced to dope people. Like,
dope people.
Yeah, more than anything.
Time.
Like, you were like, damn, like,
dope ass people.
I keep meeting more, like, more interesting people.
More people like me.
Yeah, there you go.
You know
through the
mean?
weed, you know? And so that just kept us intrigued all through college. But like Kristian said, things got hot for a minute after a while. After doing it in Reno, going to school up there.
Yeah,
it's a small community campus, you know, like everybody kind of knew each other on campus. So after a while, the rumor, you know, got around that we were moving packs back and forth on the border.
Small town.
Yeah, and it was actually a crazy story. Like, one morning, I'm going up to pick up shit, and I meet my homie up there, and we're about to do our run, and, like, we have a tail, and, you know, the whole deal. It's like 5 a.m., and I meet him, and he's like, yo, bro, I got something to tell you. And I was like, yo, what's good, you know? He's like, you know, I got, like, this uncle who's a pharmacist, like, in Reno, and he gets access to all the, like, DEA watch lists and shit. You know, and he was like, yeah, right. And he's like, and he's like, he basically called me and told me that my name came up on this shit.
Oh, shit.
And that, like, the car that I'm driving, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, that blew my mind. We still don't know to this day, like, if this was this kid's family trying to scare him. Like, you know, he was hustling and shit. Like, he might have just been, like, trying to scare us into stop doing this shit, you know? Our families weren't, like, super stoked on it, obviously, in the beginning.
Right.
And so we don't know to this day, but, like, it scared the shit out of me that morning. I was like, what the fuck are we going to do, dude? Like, I don't know if we should make this run right now, you know? But everything's geared up, so it's like, you got to do it, you know? At that point, we were getting weed fronted to us and shit. And when you had weed on the front, it was just like, you committed, dude.
Yeah,
you know, like,
and
the only way to get plugs was to follow through on those promises. And, like, then, you know, you get more weed, right? So we decided, fuck it, let's go for it. So we, like, sent it that day. We got up. Everything was cool, thank God. And it was a hectic day, though. Like, our phones got disconnected, so I couldn't get a hold of them. I was like, oh, shit, something going on, you know. It was one of those stressful-ass days. Eventually got everything done, and that was, like, the last time right there. I decided, like, you know what? I'm cool off this. I was about to graduate in, like, 3 weeks. I'd like, dude, you know, I like failed at Sac State, so I was like, I'm about to graduate, like I'm not about to fuck this up again, like fuck, I
Mama
got
be mad.
yes, like and all the money, dude, like the loans at that point, you know, you're committed that you just like don't even realize when you're going through college that there's something that's gonna bite you in your ass later, right?
Yep.
So I was like, fuck it, I gotta like slowly get out of this shit. So we stopped doing that, and at that point, got a real estate gig, man. One of my good homies ran a great real estate investment trust, managing like multi-tenant industrial warehouse spaces.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, so this was kind of
Not even residential.
yeah, it was kind
That's
of an
dope.
interesting look into the indoor world right away. So like right away I started managing, I don't know, probably 300 tenants in SAC, you know, 300 industrial spaces, and I was just doing property management and leasing up the spaces. And then slowly but surely, you know, I just stopped hustling weed and got this legit job. And then like growers and shit are coming in, and you can
Yes,
tell right
sir.
away they're lying about whatever. You know, you're like,
Yeah.
dude, like I know what you're gonna do with my space,
we're
bro.
gonna be
Have an
selling things
LLC.
online.
Yeah.
It's all online.
Yeah. So that was, I had the most fun I could with it. Like I definitely wasn't like happy. I was still like kind of had that feeling again, like, damn, like I'm just not on my path anymore. Like I'm not going to be a teacher. Kind of gave up the weed shit. This real estate shit's all right. But then again, like my tenants, these people would be growing weed or doing clones. Like one of our tenants was Easy Clone. You remember those guys?
Yeah.
They built the Easy Clone system with like
I
the
remember
hoods that
that,
everybody
yeah.
uses. So those were one of our tenants. There were a couple other like weed guys I can't remember off the top of my head that ended up doing stuff in SAC, but it was cool because like I would be like, fine, I mean, all these few spots, just give me like a QP every fucking harvest or whatever, you know, like yeah, like all right, back to hustling.
You got
right?
it.
Like,
Yeah.
It took
Hey.
basically like a year before I was like, all right, let's see what we can do with this, and then that's probably like, you know, 2010ish, 2011, I guess at that time, and
Dude, you got power with that management position.
yeah, it was fun. I mean, I definitely learned how to sell there. That's one thing. Like that was the benefit, is to like pitch to people all day, warehouse space, knowing numbers, that type of shit, and like being trained just how to talk to people, how to sell. That was something that I didn't learn, you know, through college too much. Obviously, it was natural just hustling and shit, but like doing it in a professional environment, like the structured way of
different,
it's totally different, right? But it's an
people
important
that aren't weed heads or things like that.
Yeah, and it was an important lesson to learn for sure. But around that time, I'm living in SAC again, so I moved back to SAC after I got out of Reno. That's where I got the real estate job, was in SAC. I started hitting up deliveries and just being a consumer around town, and one of these deliveries, wax popped on the menu. I was like, what the fuck is wax? You know, really at this time, I had no idea what it was, because like I'd seen people smoking hash and shit, but I didn't really know like what that shit was all about. But it was going for like 40 a gram.
Right.
And I was like, damn, 40 a fucking gram. Like back then I was like, this is
Some was
fucking
60.
crazy. Yeah, 60 even.
Yeah.
You know, the very first grams of oil. They'd just be like the straight, like a lot of it was made with propane and like,
Yep.
you know, like that yellow earwax shit, right?
Yes, sir.
And that was just the beginning of it.
First one I tried.
I mean, that shit drew me in right away. Like the first time I called this delivery, it was my boy Owen. Shout out Black Diamond Boutique in Sacramento.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
So
That's our
Owen,
neighbor.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Owen brought up me like my first gram of wax, first fucking fire 8s in the city and shit, and I was instantly started researching it. I was like, how the fuck do you make this shit? Because I loved it. Its first few dabs, I was like, oh, this is the shit.
Yeah.
Like,
It
this
was
is
a
crazy.
little tough back then.
Yeah, but you
I
didn't
remember
know
some
any
of the-
better,
remember
dude.
Some of the
Sparkling?
people,
Yeah.
would pop and.
Oh,
like,
lots of popping,
I don't think it's
bro.
supposed to do that.
No, it probably wasn't.
No.
But we didn't
It's a
give a fuck.
butane.
We were so high.
Yeah, you definitely didn't know any better, and that's what happened. I felt like I was high school high again, like I used to get in high school,
Yeah.
like giggly, fucking paranoid, not wanting to go to the store, like all that type of shit. And I hadn't felt like that in years, so I was like, damn, this is crazy. Like, what's going on? And at that point, it was a lot of blogs, like Kristian said, just like the Great Glob Society was on Facebook. That was like a little group that was there, and then there were a couple people on IC Mag, but it was really like underground as fuck in the beginning, like blasting fucking Tane. You go on YouTube and you'd watch some fuzzy video, some sketchy dude on his porch, with the ski mask, with a PVC pipe and like butane. You're like
in the garage,
but. It's still, I was like, fuck it, let's see what happens with this. And so knowing all the grows in Grass Valley and like having my own up there and knowing people, I was like, well, shit, like I'm just gonna go ask people for material and start practicing and see what happens, And even at that time, people were burning their trim, all of it. Mulched. Dude, it was a risk. It was a huge risk. After these grows would have their harvest, they'd harvest hundreds of pounds or whatever, and then they'd have hundreds of pounds of trim sitting on their property. Well, for the cops back then, that's a risk. It's a risk. So back then, they'd just be like, bro, take it off the fucking property. Like, I don't give a fuck. Yeah, you don't have to. There's no charge. I'll pay you some of these if you can get it the fuck out of here, Yeah. And that was just like, at that point I was working real estate, and that like month I think I got like 20 or 30 grand worth of hash made and quit my job. And I was like, fuck I gave up on the real estate thing, and that was a big decision because now I knew I was going back into the shit that kind of I was tripping about.
What'd you do first? Bubble hash?
No, just straight to Tane, dude.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, I mean I made bubble hash back in the day a couple times, but I never liked it. I was like, this shit's fucking weird. You had to dry it outside. Like with bubble hash, it's all really been innovated the past 5 years even, where it's been, this is amazing now. It's a totally different game. But in the beginning, it was like you let it dry outdoors, didn't taste right. Like instantly seeing oil versus that, I just knew like I just want to do oil, right?
Real earthy.
yeah, too earthy. And I always got like sick from smoking hash, dude. Like that, like water hash back in the day, the black balls of shit. If I hit that for like 4 or 5 days in a row, like my immune system would be fucked up. Like I always would catch a cold. I don't know if it was mold in it. It could have been mold in the fucking hash because you didn't have the proper drying techniques and everything, and so you get all those microbials from like maybe moldy weed is what the growers would use their excess shit to make hash with. So I think there was a lot of that going on.
Hash and keef.
Yeah, hash and keef.
Put on your bowl.
Yeah, 100%. And so I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna dive back in. And at that point I talked to Owen actually of Black Diamond, and I knew he had that delivery, so I was like, bro, just literally at that point all I wanted to do, I remember exactly, I just wanted to make oil for Owen's shop. That was it. I was like, bro, just let me be your like independent supplier, like let me just make all the oil for your shop and that's it only. And he's like, fuck that. Like I got all these vendors, like he was on his shit. He's like, you're tripping.
Exclusive rights.
Yeah. He wasn't about it right in the beginning,
They want options, dude.
But I kept hanging around and kept just, being like, well, I'm doing this shit. I'd go vend at North Star. That was like the first club that I ever hit. Without North Star, I wouldn't be anywhere, And without the growers, I wouldn't be anywhere either. Like these people that were starting my business, giving the free trim away, doing that stuff, like that's why I have so much love for cultivators to this day. Because it's like I can't do what I do without cultivators, and I used to grow, so I get how hard it is. I get how much time you put into it.
Yeah, dude,
and
the hardest job.
It's a special relationship. That's probably one of my favorite parts about it, is having that bond with cultivators, So shout out to them for sure.
Shout out to all cultivators
that
that do it right.
Yeah, 100%.
We're kind of talking about the whole, the cultivators could always go back to the scripts, like when we got rated, like we showed a bunch of paperwork, but when these guys got rated, it was like mandatory minimums.
Right.
That was
pushed it so hard that, like I always respected that because, the times we got rated, like, it was still nerve wracking and stuff, but we had a case. We had, with the manufacturers, they were just throwing manufacturers away.
And the problem too with that was a lot of people were blowing themselves up in the garage. And
it was a real problem. Let's be honest. I mean, like, people are burning down homes next to them. There's people getting seriously injured. Like, this isn't like you're growing some weed. Nobody lost their fucking like 3rd degree growing weed ever. I never had any friends have accidents growing, really, for the most part. And so, yeah, it was different, man. I mean, I knew it was a risk, and then eventually Owen was like, let's do it. Fuck it. I want to do it, you know? And so we partnered up, started making a bunch of shit, and started Paper Planes. That's when it started. That's 2012. So this is actually our 10-year anniversary. And so we've had branded products in shop since 2012, which is one thing I'm stoked about.
That is
awesome.
fucking OG right
Yeah.
there, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, we all were there for the 2000s, you know, and but those products weren't branded.
That's what I'm saying.
Branded.
So in the beginning, it was the hash and edible guys. The edible guys are number one. They came to the scene like copying Reese's and Snickers and shit like that would pop up, and it'd be packaged with a sticker. Maybe it was some, you know, grandma's whatever, this or that in the club, and you'd get that package you'd buy. Yeah. All the weed though was, you know, grammed out to you. Yeah. Yep. So you got it in just a blank thing with just a slap weight bag sticker on it or whatever. Yep. But hash guys, what happened was none of these shops knew how to gram the shit out. They didn't want to deal with it. They would pick up slabs and shit or crumble or whatever, and then they'd give it to their employees and back, and they'd call you in like 4 days. Like, bro, get this shit the fuck out of here. Yeah, you either bring it to me packaged or I don't fucking want it.
And you had to bring them in envelopes.
That was it. The coin envelopes, you know, that was just,
a start.
Yeah, with dime bags. And I just started printing fucking Avery labels, bro.
Right.
Avery's like some, you know, shitty program that you use that you can just like steal images off Google and put them onto any sticker you want and then just do the, you know, fun animation shit for every strain and try to keep it fun. And yeah, that's how it started for sure. It was just kicking off like that. And it took a while to really grind it up into anything. I mean, it was years of just hustling around, hitting shops, you know, getting by, having enough. And then like 2 years went by, and like he said, it was a huge risk. And basically my partners were like, you know, they're kind of done with it. I don't want to blast anymore. They all had grows. You know, we had a spot that we blasted at. They were like, this is too much. Yeah, it definitely was. I mean, you'd be paranoid leaving the spot. If you had employees blasting, you'd scared to death that you'd come back with somebody hurt. Yeah, that's different. You know, you like, or in jail, right? Or both of those things. And then you'd think about that shit all day. I mean, I definitely wasn't like upset that they didn't want to do it anymore. I was like, I get it. They were like, dude, my lawyers they say not, you know, don't go this route right now. You know, they will lock you up, right? But I just loved it, dude. I really did just love oil, and I love the process of it. And at that point, I was like, well, fuck it. So I just bought the business off of him at that point, you know. I was like, fine, I'll just keep going, you know, do my own thing with it. And that's when things really were, I guess, the most difficult right off the bat. Yeah, it's like I was finally like on my own, had the business, but really didn't have partners and shit to get it to where I needed to be. Right. So then I moved up back to Grass Valley in the woods, like by myself, dude, in a fucking shed. It was bad. Like I was just like grinding, dude, every day, just like blasting, blast, go to the grow, go back to the shed, go to the grow, back to the shed, just, and then eventually once a month I'd hit San Jose or Sac or whatever and do that, and eventually got attention of some of the retail shops in Sac and partnered up with a chain of the retail shops that you mentioned earlier, and that's when things actually really started to flourish. It was like you finally had infrastructure around you where it was like I wasn't just up in the hill anymore. Yeah. Like I had a spot. I had a team of people supporting me.
It was
like,
safe.
It was safe. Yeah. That's the number one thing. These guys owned real estate. It wasn't like some small shit. I was renting homes up in town, you know. At that point, you're always sketched out. It's in your name. Yep. You know, you're just like, this is not a sustainable thing I got going. You knew it wouldn't last.
And extracting reeks. It has a certain smell. It's not your typical nice, pungent weed in bloom smell. Yeah. It is a fucking deep, heavy, like the way brownies used to taste when brownies didn't taste good.
No, for sure. I mean? And you got all that leftover weed around. And if you were open blasting early days, you had cans fucking that you would have to take to the dump, dude. And that's and those were the sketchiest trips with just hundreds of cans. And you never know if a garbage bag's going to open up when you toss it or whatever. Yeah, it was, dude, I mean, I think all of us have some PTSD from hustling and doing shit because it's just so much stress and anxiety on your life all the time, right? You're just like tripping on shit. But yeah, for the first time, I was like, fuck, this is dope. Get to breathe. Shit's like safe. Got all these shops interested in shit. We got like place to store that's safe, place to run. And that's when things really, really took off. And I think we became like the brand that people really know today. Before that, Paper Planes was kind of known, you know, in SAC, but from 2015 to 2018 is really when things kind of took off for us.
Well, yeah, and then you built a fan base that actually trusts what you're producing and what you're putting out there.
Yeah.
And that's huge in this industry right now. They need to trust you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think, you know, we've been open with our tech and everything from day one. A lot of even the word tech, I think, is originated from the BHO guys. It's like, what's your tech? How'd you whip your shit? How'd you run your shit?
Right.
What's your tech, right? That was the thing in the beginning. And like, we would always be very open about the equipment we used, just so that like we could get more people looped into what BHO was, you know,
Right.
whereas everybody else was really kind of closed off. And the problem is that it doesn't ever translate to the consumer. It's like you can keep your shit secretive and that's all good and you have your tech, but like your consumer doesn't understand why your product may be better than the next guy's product.
Right.
You know, so that was a big focus, just educating people.
That's dope. And what is, I've heard BHO defined 2 different ways. What's your definition?
Butane hash oil, right?
Right.
What's the second way?
Butane honey oil.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, people do get mad when you call BHO hash. A lot of people don't like that. I think it's all hash.
When I first heard it was honey oil. Everybody called it honey oil when it first started coming through, and we would put over our bong balls and stuff like that. When they still had it, it was almost like crude.
Yeah.
But just like a little cleaner crude back then. But yeah, that's what we always called it for a while. Then I kept hearing butane hash oil, hash oil. I was like, oh my God, there's a discrepancy. Let's have them duke it out, figure it out, whatever. And we'll stick with one.
Yeah, I just call it all hash.
Yeah.
I call it all hash. I mean, you're extracting the trichomes and those terpenes off the plant, and water's a solvent, just like butane's a solvent. Whether people want to believe that or not, you know, that's fine. But like people they like the idea that they drink water, it goes in their body, it doesn't harm them, and if their products are made from that, then they feel like that's more like a hash. That's real hash, right?
Right.
So you know, I don't care either way, really. It's like I don't care what you call it, really.
Yeah. but that also brings me to the next question I wanted to ask you was, what is the differences between all these different variants in the hash market? You know what I mean? I'm talking. I remember it started with like a whip. It was a whip first, and then it went to shatter. Then it went to crumble. Then it went sauce, and then it went back to shatter.
Yeah, the whip. So the whip was first mainly, once again, because we didn't have the equipment right off the bat. So everyone's open blasting, and they're on hot plates or hot water already. Yeah, getting the butane out of there, and then if you want, you can just whip. And honestly, I mean, you can get it down pretty far, depending on how hot you want to get it. You might ruin your terps and shit, but you can get most of the butane out to where it tastes decent, you know, back in the day. And so I think that's why that's the first thing you see. And then with vac ovens, once vac ovens come on the scene, then you can spread out your oil, right? Like that's the first time where you're pouring from your Pyrex, you're taking that oil from your Pyrex onto a piece of parchment paper and then putting that, you know, into your vac oven.
Right.
Yeah.
And then that's when you're getting your shatters.
Yeah, so that, I think that led to the shatter. And then from that point, like, we would take the shatter and whip it back up.
Right.
Yeah, that became the thing for a while.
Because shatter was too hard. You couldn't keep it cold all the time.
Yeah.
And I remember it was dope when we were, like, in the winter. And then in the summer, if you, like, take it in your pocket and you go up to your house and you pull it out, it's like, hey, what the fuck is going on here? This is going to be difficult. Cool. And you had to learn, you know, the etiquette and how to fucking whip it back in and hit it. But it was nothing. But I mean, just the way it evolved.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, mostly everybody in the beginning's running trim and, like, LARF and small nugs and shit. Like, live resin doesn't really pop on the scene until 2014, probably, is when people start really running live resin. And that kind of changed everything in the post-processing side. Like, up until that point with trim, yeah, you can whip it up, you can make some shatter, like, you're kind of limited, right? You're limited with like what you can do with it, because the trim is just full of THCA. Like, you got a little bit of terps on there, but for the most part, like, that trim's just spitting out those THCA numbers.
Right.
So you don't get, like, the viscosity you need on the post-processing side in order to play with this extract to formulate it into what you need it to be. It's kind of a little more stubborn, if you would.
Right.
Yeah.
And the THCA needs to be turned into THC, right?
Well, yeah, like it's just converted to Delta 9 when you
Delta
smoke
9.
it. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It does, we don't need to do anything on our end. We just need to purge out the butane
And then
get it to you guys.
What is the difference between crumble and shatter?
Yeah, I mean, really, like we just said, like the oil fresh out of your closed loop system. You know, no one's open blasting anymore. Obviously, everyone's got closed loop systems, and so the oil comes out of those closed loop systems, and with the shatter, it's going directly onto a piece of parchment, directly into a vac oven, and purged. Right? It's not agitated whatsoever. That's like the most important part. That's the difference. Is like there's no agitation to that oil, so it comes straight out of your extraction machine and then straight into your oven.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So
just rest. Basically.
yeah, exactly.
That's
And then
dope.
after like 24 hours of purging, that's how you get that nice flat glass slabs.
Nice.
But with the crumble, all you got to do is just fuck with
dry
it.
it out.
And that too. Crumble, obviously, like that's probably my least favorite extract, just because in order to get like crumble, you're usually drying it out to the point where you're getting rid of some of that flavor.
Right.
You know, like you want your batters or your sugars or any type of extract to be a little wet.
That's why
Yeah.
terp sauce, I think, made a really big hit or impact in the market when it kind of started getting mass produced or produced by more people.
Yeah.
I think when they were used to crumble or shatter, and then oh shit, this terp sauce, or even just the bottom, not the pour off part, that shit. I mean, we called it stutter butter at the time. We didn't even know what it was, but we were selling it at all the smoke sessions and
Yeah.
shit. But that was like a real game changer for people to really smell the heavy terps side of things.
Yeah, live resin changed everything. You know, it's funny too. Like I bought an Emotex closed loop system, and the guys who a lot of people know this, but some people don't. The guys who created the Emotex closed loop system are really the group of guys that first put wet weed inside and threw butane over it and made live resin.
Right.
And so when I met those dudes, they trained me. And I got to enter my first cannabis cup from shit that they trained. Like I brought the weed down to LA. They had a system down there. We met up in some warehouse and they trained me on how to do live resin extraction. And then we entered that into a cannabis cup.
That's dope. Did you win?
We didn't win that one. No, that was just the beginning of starting to enter those things. But it was cool to see like, oh, this industry is definitely changing. Like this is way different than what we were doing with trim. Like seeing terps on everything was you know, game changer for sure.
That's pretty dope, man.
Yeah.
And as the industry evolves,
I remember
you
on the
guys were evolving too.
on the cultivation side. I remember like the first time cutting a greenhouse down and putting it in a freezer. I was like freaking out. I was like, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
Right?
I was like,
This is not
this
right.
is not what I'm used to.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
baby.
No, but then starting to work with, you know, good manufacturers and like seeing, you know, just the little bit different twist on your product, you know, the terpenes.
Yeah, I think that's what's cool is like, you know, breeders, growers, guys who are really passionate about it. Once they see it in extract form, they can really dissect what they've bred, you know, what the real terp profile is on it. And then a lot of times you can tell if you did your job right, if you grew right. You know, the oil really is like a truth serum of the grower. It's like,
Right.
yeah, the grower has to do his job perfectly and get us the material like 100% right, or else the oil doesn't come out correct, you know?
Right. And is it better, do you think, for higher yield or more terps?
It's just for terps, yeah. Live
terps,
resin, you're not gonna always get the best yields. Yeah,
Right.
it's unfortunate, but you know, you sacrifice a little bit of yield for, you know, great product.
What is the best, your top favorite extract you've ever done? Like when you
Ooh.
produced it, you look at it and like, holy shit.
Yeah, some of the better. There's a couple. I mean, I'd say still to this day, one of the best ones we ever did was we ran the White Walker OG.
Okay.
From Cannabis was growing it back in the day, and Gold Coast Extracts was one of like the biggest extract companies. They used to run it back in the day a lot too. And I mean, dude, tracking down like fire weed is like a full-on detective job, right? Like
Yeah.
meeting the right people, you know, being able to trust people, building a relationship with someone. Like, you know, like when growers give their everything to this flower, they want to make sure it goes to the right person, you know. And then, like he said, when you know they want to throw Tane over it, it's like it's really got to be like the right fit,
the
you
right
know.
Guys to
Yeah,
do
so like it's always like it's more than just like, oh, it was one run. It's like it's the journey of finding it that's so much fun. It's like I remember seeing that strain, being like, damn, I want to extract that. Damn, I want to extract it. It probably took me 3-4 years to track down the actual weed that I wanted, and then when we got it, it was like, oh shit, that was insane.
What do you look for in a strain that's a really good for extraction? That will
it
hit
really
your
all comes
yields
down
and
to
your terp
it comes back
profiles?
to the genetics, because like you can run 1,000 OG Kushes, but you know the extract will tell you which ones have these really rare terpene profiles on them, and like that White Walker OG was really rare. Back in the day, we ran that Nameless Genetics, OG, Kushco, all those three. The Lemon Fuel from Alien Labs, that shit was heat. That's what we took 3rd place with at a cut.
Nice.
All those OGs like have really unique profiles, and on any given day, they could be, you know, one of the best, I would say.
And what's your go-to to turn them into? Is it like sauce, or I mean not sauce, but live resin?
Yeah, it's different every time. That's a good question. Like, it Paper Planes, what we do is like we let the strain tell us what it wants to be.
Okay.
Yeah, every time you get it out of the, you know, extraction system, you can learn a little bit about it. And every grow is different, every room's different, every harvest is different. So you really like, sometimes something might be a really nice light yellow batter, and that's what it needs to be, and other times it might make like the best diamonds in the world.
Right.
You know, and based off how that extraction went that day is like really gonna determine what we do with it on the post-processing side.
So like the same SOP to make diamonds could be the same SOP to make batter, but it's just on the strain of weed on the outcome?
Not the SOP. So the SOP on post-processing would be much different,
Much
right?
different,
Yeah,
right?
if you're making
Okay.
diamonds or batter. But what I'm saying is just that,
Consistency.
yeah, consistency, like our choice of what it'll be when it comes out of the system
Right.
is
Okay.
really a live like decision that's made. It's not like made prior to us buying the weed. It's like we'll run it, we'll see how it does, and then if it's a great run that we know is like the perfect ratio of butane to THC for diamonds, we'll put that and we'll make it into diamonds. Like,
Right, okay.
if the extractor like that day had the like a little less ratio of butane, it's going to be perfect for batters, you know. Well, okay, that's got to be batters. And we train our extractors and our post processors to really be artists, like in
Right.
that sense. Like, it's not like a set it and forget it type of thing. Like, you have to be on your shit in the booth. You got to really like have your parameters that you're trying to hit on the system with the temperatures and the pressures correct, and then you got to prep the weed correctly. There's a lot that goes into making good hash, you know.
Yeah.
It's a long process.
And
for
does
sure.
that like is that a little difficult when you're trying to get it to market, to where you have these different SKUs and not
Very.
like a Pepsi that's the same fucking mix, the
Yeah.
same thing that pumps out. You're dealing with, what do I name that at this
Yeah.
point? You're, you know,
Extremely challenging. Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest things that's difficult for us is the consistency issue.
'cause,
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
you look at Marble Lights; it's the same fucking
Yep.
pack every single time.
Yeah.
And to get with your connoisseur, like, you
Yeah.
know, take at it, it must be hard to kind of like mimic that type of model, to where you're
It
just
is.
pumping out the same type of product, and you know your customers just
Yeah.
rely and love that product.
Yeah, what I can say is, like, over the years, what we've done in order to, you know, kind of negate those issues is that we rely on the same growers, right? Like guys like Kristian, like we know grow fire every single time. Like, we don't have to worry too much about consistency issues with.
Right.
So like we definitely rely heavily on our network in order to get like the best fire on that side, so that makes our job on the extraction side a lot easier.
Right.
And then, yeah, I mean, that's probably
It's
the best.
about your starting product, right?
Yeah, that's
Smart.
it. It really is. It's like it all comes back to the weed. Yeah.
That's cool. Well, I know you guys are both doing a little bit of a collab in the works. You guys want
Yeah.
to tell us about that?
Sure. Yeah. I'll kick it off.
Somebody break it.
Yeah, it kind of goes in actually this consistency conversation a lot too. Is like I haven't been growing. Kristian's been growing and doing a great job at it, obviously. And so we've worked together over the past few years. And I think I showed up at your farm 6 months ago in Penn Valley, and it was gorgeous. Just like one of those farms you see, you're like, damn. This is special. You know right away when a cultivator really has that green thumb and they know what they're doing. They care about the plants. They got the right genetics. Yeah. It's a special feeling every time you walk through a grow that is like that. Yeah. And right away I was like, oh, this is dope, right? So we ended up running some of your lemon, or what's it? The orange fresh squeeze. That's what it is.
Squeeze. Yeah.
This is fire too. Yeah, we just entered that in the Emerald Cup, and that was one of my favorite runs we did, probably all 2021 actually. But I brought it up. I was like, dude, Kristian, I really need to control like the weed that we grow. I need to have access to genetics. Like I want to do this in Grass Valley. This is my hometown. I love this place. And like if you ever want to do it, like just keep me in mind. Basically, didn't think anything of it that day, and then you called me like 3 months later, and you're like, dude, I got a spot.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I for me, like cultivating, we kind of talked about the microclimates and stuff. It's a lot like wine, like different areas put out, maybe it's a Pinot Noir or a Cab, and coming up in Grass Valley and in Nevada County. I think it's a very special place, and we found a really special property. And we're just starting to develop it now.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Dope. It's 40 acres. It's like our thing is like we didn't want just a plot of land. Like we wanted a place that's nice, that's landscaped beautifully, that people will enjoy to be at. Like we're trying to, for both of our brands, trying to elevate like what it means to be a cannabis brand, like what the lifestyle is in Grass Valley, what this life was for us coming up, and being able to really show people that it's a beautiful thing. I mean, like I definitely stepped on the extraction side, but all my grower homies in Nevada County were living much better lives than I was on the come up for the butane shit. Like they had a great thing going up there. It was a beautiful lifestyle, and they knew how to grow organic, sustainable weed.
They did.
And it was like fire all the time, and they were making good money. So I think like bringing that part of the culture of Nevada County into what we're doing at this property is a big thing for us.
Yeah. Everybody always, cool. I mean, if you were from Sacramento, you knew about Grass Valley and like Clear Lake areas and stuff. We didn't have to go to Humboldt. You know what I mean? You go to Humboldt if you want some really cheap outdoor that you can flip in SoCal. Yeah. But Grass Valley was always like our hidden little secret. Like when people would come and try to, do something, they think that we're going, 4 or 5, 6 hours away. Well, like an hour up the street. I'll be back. I'll probably go to In-N-Out Burger on the way down.
Yeah, right there at Placer High School.
Time, make this seem a little hard. I'm back. Here's fire, right? I know. Got it for a great deal. But that was the lifestyle.
It's a special place. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, the weed that comes out of there, the people. And it's a shame that people don't know this really, and that's why we both were like, let's like share this place with the world and start getting property in this town, because we think like we're betting on it. Obviously, like our money's down. Like we think this is going to be one of the better places in the United States to grow weed.
That's dope.
Yeah.
So I thought you guys were collabing on like a product.
This is full not property. We do the product collabs actually all the time. Kristian and I have worked together for a couple years now.
Point. That's fucking dope. That's dope. That's big. I'm so sorry, but I had to ask before. I had to go back.
Yeah.
Are you guys trying to do like a tourist type of attraction? Like,
I wouldn't say tourist, but more for the culture and for the people, like our crew of people that we have around, and I think for bud tenders. I think people in our industry. Yeah.
Right. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean it's a special place. It could hold a couple hundred people. Kind of an outdoor setting. Like you said, to really showcase the product. And I think it's both of our beliefs, like with the state of the industry, like I feel like the OGs, the people that really help push to get this industry where it is, kind of need to start coming back together and start working with each other.
Yeah,
I agree.
Kind of take back some of what we lost over the last
Bring
couple
that
of years.
love back in the industry. Everybody, I mean, you can't blame them because there was a heavy rush there. You were either make it or break it. You got to move, and it became about money because that's what you needed to enter the market. Yeah. And I think that we got a few, people that got a little carried away with the money, and I love what you're saying because let's bring it back. Let's bring it back. Money is what it is. We all need it, want it, and love it at a certain extent. But bring back the love that this plant always gave to all of us. The whole time growing up, that's how I met my friends. That's how we, got past certain barriers, like slipping weed to a security guard. That's how we got into fucking events. There's a lot of pros that came from it, and I think bringing it back full circle back to the love of it. That's cool, guys. That's really dope.
Thank you.
You guys are on some other shit right now. And you're not claiming like, oh, we're gonna make some big fucking campus school type deal, charge admission
I
to
think
grow or some shit.
The rec plan is a long-term plan for everybody that's involved in it right now, that's trying to make a name or a brand for themselves. Like, this is the start of something for us, right? And we hope to acquire more of these properties over the years and really make a footprint in that town. And so people, when they buy the weed or the extracts, they know it's from Grass Valley. There needs to be a tag on it similar to you're buying wine from Napa.
Right.
Like for the indoor guys, it's much different. They don't have to really do that because they control their environment. It's like they're on their own scale, so to speak. But like for the outdoor people, like these climates define your weed. Yeah, people need to start understanding that like the climate and the grower together is what makes, I think, a place special.
And sun-grown weed is kind of taking a real hit right now, I think, because a lot of people are going towards the depths.
Well, that's what we're gonna do, right? All depths.
And the prices for outdoor is just down. I think they're all going kind of out of business at this point, or they're extracting everything. So that's rough.
It's tough, but I mean, Kristian could tell you that the depot scene is the way to go. You know. It just makes more sense, I think.
And how many harvests can you get out of a dep?
Usually 3.
3? Yeah. 3 in a year?
Sometimes 4. If there's a good shoulder seasons, I'll usually plant just an extraction, sometimes put it in the ground in November, December could be warm, and usually you're at that point the light is kind of lower, so you're actually just growing THC or resin more than a plant.
Right. And do you get higher yields in the winter or the summer?
Oh, definitely the summer.
The summer. Summer's higher yields.
Yeah.
What's the perks of the winter growing?
It's like that cherry on top. It's like
just have to do it.
You're talking about, the cold is good for plants.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you kind of get a little more fireweed in the summer. I mean the winter. And then
it's more resinous. It's definitely darker.
You need the sun, though. That power of the sun over the summer and the light, you need that. Right. Yeah, that's what gets you the more powerful.
It doesn't really give you the structure and things like that. It's not a pretty plant, but it's loud.
Right.
It's terpy. So it's, for me, it's always just been, kind of throw it in there, see what happens.
Yeah, and some growers will slide you those bumper crops and not tell you. And then it's like 1.5% yield. This is fuck, dude. I don't know if I want to call this guy. And then it'll be like, oh, yeah, that's my winter crop. It's like, oh, bro, fuck. Whew. So it's like, you're getting a little less quality, but at the same time, you're getting something. And that's what you have to do. You got to push in this industry. You can't let off the gas. It's like, if there's a little bit of extra to be made to pay the bills, get it done. And most people will extract it, I think, because it comes out a much better extract product than it does a flower.
Right.
That's the thing is small buds, small bud live resin, winter crop live resin. Yeah, it might not be as good as the summer, but it can be damn good, if it's done right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah. So I would think you guys would have to learn a stick and move throughout the year and figure out which strains are fucking killing it in the winter and which ones are just killing it in the summer. So that just makes you guys work on your business strategy or your strategy, your growth strategy. That's cool. Yeah. There's so much science and thought going into this industry at this point, and tech, that it's really really starting to show, dude, and the weed's starting to get stronger and stronger. I've been
the testing labs just saying that.
That
you know?
too.
Yeah, we don't know.
But I think Preferred, I smoked one where he hit a 40. He had like over 40.
Was it?
You see,
Yeah,
you
dude,
see
it was,
40s out there now.
Los Angeles, Louis,
Oh, LA
Kush
King
cake.
Louis, King Louis. No, LA Kush Cake.
LA
You're
Kush Cake.
right.
LA Kush Cake,
LA
yeah.
Kush Cake was he
One of the
tested
first
high.
batches,
That
I
shit's
think.
fire. We
Yeah.
ran some of that for
Yeah.
them.
We did?
We did a little collab with them.
Fucking strong.
That's on the market right now. If you want to go to main stage, that's the spot to get all our stuff in SAC.
Yeah.
Yeah, that usually our preferred collabs go through, our finest collabs go through there. So
Yeah, Dave gave me some of that.
Dude,
I nursed it for end of night. Like, bro, 2 stone, couldn't get much done in the day. I had to like really consciously tell myself like, no, you're not smoking that at 2 p.m. in the day. No, not right now.
yeah.
That's tonight at 9 p.m. type weed, you know? Just want to get
Something like
blitzed.
that.
That shit's getting
Yeah,
so
I mean, like,
strong,
shit is
dude.
strong. I think we're all just reminiscent about some old weed that we love, though, at this point.
True.
It just seems to be the message that you hear from everybody is like,
Well-
the weed is just, everybody scaled so rapidly that it's like, it's hard to have the quality be the same that it was when we were all just like, wow, this is incredible.
Yeah, I remember holding a sack in my pocket and stinking the whole room up.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah,
couldn't
yeah.
hide it from my mom and
Yeah.
dad. I had to put it in the garage and it'll stink that
Or
up.
it's just like we're getting
Bro.
old. Like,
No, I don't
Because
think
my
so.
dad, he'll be like, "This weed doesn't get me high anymore. It was only the weed back in the
Back
day
in the
that got me
day,
high."
yeah.
And I was thinking of that the other day, and I was like, "Man, maybe we're all just tripping. Like we've
Well, I
just
think
been
one-
smoking too long."
One of the good things with the legalization side of it in the testing is on the genetic development side. I've noticed that like some of the flashier, like blingier weed is not always the terps.
It's
aren't
not
there.
power smoke.
You're right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so much of the stuff that's pushed right now, it's like the THC level will be 40%, but the terps might be 1%.
For
And,
sure.
we got lucky with a couple strands. We had like the Fatso that hit like 40%, but it had 4.5% terpenes.
Yeah.
And when we first put that to market, I gave it to a couple of employees that were like, they were just dabbers. Like they wouldn't touch flower.
Right.
And we put that out and they'd be like, holy shit, I feel like I'm back in high school. I feel like I'm like 16 again. Like, what is that?
Yeah.
You know, and it's just that mixture of, you know, the cannabinoids and the terpenes, like, you
And
know,
Fatso, that's GMO?
GMO, Legend OG.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've tried Fatso.
Yeah, it'll put you down.
Some
Like,
good shit.
Yeah.
I think that honestly, I think back in the day with the old strains when they're hitting 23s, 25s, like that's probably it. That's the high indoor
Yeah.
shit. I was able to function a little better stone. You know
think
what I
so?
mean?
Yeah.
I think so. Back in the day, maybe I was
Yeah.
younger, but nowadays, like if I can't, I have to really like fuck with my tolerance. I'm not tolerance, but my control, because I love the smoking. I love smoking weed.
Yeah.
So, but I have to like learn to like, hey, put that out halfway. Like, let's piece this fucking out
Yeah,
throughout
yeah,
the
yeah.
day, because I can't smoke a full joint and run businesses. At the
Damn.
same time, like it's a little too much, and then I get a little flustered.
Yeah.
But that's only been happening like in my later time, like when weed's been hitting 35, 38, 40%. And I've noticed that. So I think that if growers went back and like started throwing out those old train wrecks or Durban poisons or Sensi stars or fucking blue dots and shit like that, like Romulans, the original, like you'll get me like into that, buying that shit off the shelf. Like, I'm not trying to hit no 40% high
I think
right
a
now.
lot of it too is just through everything getting crossed over the years.
Yeah.
Those original old strains were probably stronger, like true genetic strains that had
Yeah.
these real terp profiles true to those strains. Now you get this, blend of, some of the same terps across a lot of different extracts, a lot of different weed. And so I think it's just some people's brains probably just different, whether it's you like this one or that one. It's just the terpene profile that you may like today or you may like 10 years ago,
But the stickiness is gone, man. For
I
a lot.
can 100% agree with that, but
Like-
I think that has to do with how rec, grows. They're fucked when it comes to
Probably.
getting product to market in the packaging and shit, cure everything. It's tough.
Remember
I mean,
getting
like,
a sack of weed and like having to pull it apart?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
no, yeah, you got to get that on the traditional scene. Yeah,
Right.
that's the only way to get like super fresh from the harvested that day.
Right.
It's unfortunate you can't get that. That's what was cool about 215 is just that you could go into a club. You knew that somebody dropped that pound off maybe an hour ago, and they brought it out to the mason jar and started gramming it out for everybody. And so the weed was way fresher back in the day.
Yeah, it was.
Because you don't dude, it takes a long time.
4 to 6 weeks.
To COA, to distro, to deliver it. Yeah. This isn't just like, oh, I'm going in my trunk and I'll go down there today and it's done deal.
Fresh as shit. We were spoiled.
We were, 100%.
We were
I think people miss that a lot, and I think that it'll take a while for it to just get back to where it is. But with the technology, they're gonna eventually learn how to just kill it. People
make it sticky forever.
People get it to market quicker, dial in their cure better, I'm sure, and eventually you'll get there. It's just a little bit of a setback.
So what do you guys think about the current state of the market right now? Like, is it a pro for the cannabis connoisseur culture, or is it like in a negative? Because me personally, let me just answer that first. I think it's a pro no matter what, because we asked for this. We kept saying legalize it and regulate it.
Yeah.
I remember us preaching that, dude, for a long time.
Yeah.
So I'm like, fuck, I could get caught with weed and not have to worry about it now. You know what I mean? Not like back in the day where it was really low. So what do you guys think?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of both, like with 64, kind of going back to the story I was telling before, like, having sheriffs and having 2 little kids, like, maybe not seeing them for a long period of time, like, like living with that kind of pressure, like 64 did take that away, but it's been tough. Like, I feel like this year was kind of like what we went through in 2017, where the 2 markets kind of collided. There wasn't really, you had these enormous, I remember Salinas going online, and I went down, and one of my buddies was running 300,000 square feet, and I was like, what the fuck is this, but the 215, like, everything just kind of collided, and there was no track and trace. It was like, it was just a free for all. And I remember that year I grew some of the best dep I ever grew, and I was like crying because I was like getting rid of it at like 650, and it kind of feels like that again, like, obviously, we asked for this, we did want something different, but I think a lot of people made bad decisions on going as big as they could, as quick as they could, and kind of just staking a claim in the ground. And I think it's all coming, kind of full circle. I know it's coming full circle with me. It's like kind of getting back to more of like the passion and like putting out a product that like you really, really stand behind.
Yeah.
And I think now more than ever, the branding and your quality speaks for itself, because, there's a lot of shit on the market right now, on the recreational side, but the differentiator, I think, right now is if you're growing that fire, or having that genetic, or getting it into a different product form. Like, I think that's where, kind of some of us are going to kind of, retake some market share back, is by having the right stuff.
Craft farmers.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely difficult to build a business in this industry. I think that's what I will say about that, is like the state's tough. Because, it takes a lot of capital these days to really, like, if you want to build a brand, you want to have a marketing team, you want to have all your packaging come correct, you want to have a website, you want to, deliver, whatever, you want to acquire licenses, you're talking about millions of dollars, right? And I think the big rug pull was that, like, oh, weed's going to be legal and everybody will be able to get in. And the fact of the matter is, it's like the businesses that we were all running prior to legalization were not real businesses. We all got to be honest about that. That's not what they were. They didn't have payrolls. They didn't have insurance. They didn't have all these things, taxes. List goes on. We were running our game, right? Which was dope. Like, I'm not hating on it at all. That's fucking sick. Like, I'm just saying, like, what this is now. people should just understand is a much different hustle, a much different game that you're getting involved in. I mean, like, you have to build a real business, and that's much more difficult than flipping packs or hustling wax.
No brand.
Yeah,
nothing,
yeah, whatever. Yeah,
flipping.
no brand. Even with brand, you know, back in the day, it was much easier for me to do what I do than it is today. But to Kristian's point, like, I mean, for me, not being the arrested thing was big for me. Manufacturing charge was like always hanging over your head. Like, fuck, dude, 3 to 5 years. Like, that's crazy, you know? And so for me, I was really thankful when it went legal. I was at my wit's end with being in that trap life.
Looking
it's like,
over your shoulder.
Yeah, you get to a point where you want to have a family, maybe you want to have a kid, you want to try to relax, settle down. It's kind of hard, you know, when you're doing that shit. So being able to be legal has its perks and it's got its downsides. I think you should just kind of got to be prepared for what you're getting into if you want to start a business in it right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Are any of you guys thinking about being a multi-state operator if it comes?
I like the genetic side. You know, honestly, coming from New York, I would, you know, get a kick out of, you know, one of my friends I grew up with, be able to go to a store and get, you know, something that I had a part of creating. So from that side, yeah, I mean, I want, you know, I want my genetics all over the place.
Yeah, I think
you
we
know?
all have, you know, big dreams to try to build, big brands that are worldwide. It's just, it's step by step. You know, it takes some time to do it. I definitely want to have paper planes in other states, and like, we got guys all over the country that message us that definitely get our shit somehow, you know?
Yeah, they do.
And so those planes are flying everywhere and they're touching down, and like, it'd be nice to be able to bring our own, you know, team in there and do things the right way. It's always in the back of your head, but at the same time, you're in California, which is just like the mecca, the biggest market. If you can build a brand here, those other states will knock down no problem. Not to mention, if they ever open up that you can ship to other states, you don't ever have to go anywhere. You know, then you're going to regret that you went and spent all this money opening up these businesses in other states when you could have just stayed here and then ship all your shit out. So
what do you think a cannabis license will be worth in like 2025, 3 years from
which
now?
one, I guess, like a retail license?
No, not a retail.
Or like a grow license?
A brand that would be able to go cross state lines, things like that. You think that's where the payout's going to come for anybody with a license right now that holds on, treads water, head above water?
Honestly, I think it's still going to go back to the brand.
To the brand and the product?
Yeah, I don't think like holding a license for one particular. I think our IP, you know, is going to be in the branding or whatever makes us stand apart. But I think the branding is the most important thing.
That's fucking dope. Okay. That's good. I'm glad you guys... glad you guys came, man. Can you let everybody know where you can find your product?
It's all over. I think we're probably in about 150 shops or so.
Nice.
A lot in Sacramento, the Bay. We're not too much in LA. We ventured down there a little bit, but most of it's NorCal.
Kind Anything new upcoming coming on your horizon for Phinest?
Genetics. Yeah.
Look out for the genetics.
Kind of back to what made us great was, you know, doing the pheno hunting. We work with a lot of different breeders and have some really exciting collabs coming up.
Are you going to be selling your seeds?
Seeds and clones, yeah.
Nice. That's dope.
Sweet.
Yeah, I think COVID kind of slowed a lot of that down. You know, the last couple of years was kind of difficult to do everything and move how we needed to move. So like
2020 didn't exist.
No.
Nothing happened, but chaos.
Weed was pumping that year, though.
We was stimulus money.
So like, it was kind of fun, yeah.
So same to you, Carter. Where can we find your product?
Yeah, our main suppliers in Sacramento area are gonna be Main Stage, Connected picks up some drops from us. Colas, Perfect Union, I think, is about to grab some stuff. Those are kind of the local spots. We're in 300 shops. Occasionally I'll post on my Instagram like the whole list of that 300 just so you can kind of keep an eye on them. Right. Soon here I'll have that all kind of together on like drop dates and everything for everybody. But the last year for us has been a blur. Like, we just bought our Type 7 a year ago in March. And decided we wanted to attack the rec scene again. So going from 0 to 300 shops has been it's been wild. Yeah, we're experiencing growing pains and going through it like anybody else, but I think our team hats off to everybody. You know, we got a great team right now, and that's what I'm most proud of.
That's dope.
Yeah.
What's coming on the horizon for you?
Man, for us, the next thing we got coming is we're releasing some 1,000 milligram cannabis syrups. Actually.
Oh.
Yeah.
Some like
some hitters.
cannabis lean type.
Yeah,
deal?
like our customers are already like high potency people. Like dab people are already kind of like I said, all of them like a sub part of the culture almost. Like
Yeah,
you know,
they
like
are.
like it's a and so they're already doing the most craziest shit. So like giving them 1,000 milligram syrup bottle is exactly what they want. The thing that we do different, I'll say, is it's not just like any other, you know, syrup out there that just has your regular distillate in it. At our facility, what we're able to do is take liters of distillate or liters of live resin, doesn't matter, and formulate really a water-soluble powder is what we put into our syrups.
Been hearing all about this.
Yeah, I've been preaching it a little bit to people because we've been about to come out with it. But what it does is, you know, instead of being processed through your liver, you get processed sublingually and straight into your bloodstream. So like most people haven't experienced even this type of high yet. Like it's a whole new thing. Like just how when you eat weed versus when you smoke weed, it feels different, right?
And it hits you fast.
Well, now this is gonna be like a bloodstream, like different high, and it does hit you fast. Like sometimes I'll pour up my drink, and within literally 2 sips, I feel it in my eyes instantly. You know, like literally 5 minutes. And the good thing is it's not gonna stay in your system as long either.
Yeah.
So like it's gonna hit quick. You can judge your dose. Then if you do for some reason drink a little bit too much, it'll be out by the next morning where you're not waking up like completely fucked up, hopefully. Unless you take like the whole fucking bottle, which I don't recommend anybody doing. But I'm sure they'll yeah, I'm sure they'll, but don't, because this stuff's so much stronger than like it's kind of crazy because they haven't measured really an accurate way to test it. So it's like they test it as an edible, but like per milligram, it's so much stronger. Like 100 milligrams of this powder isn't like 100 milligrams of an edible.
Right.
So there's no way to really gauge the potency yet on this product. It's such a new, unique thing. So we decided to put it up in syrups because, you know, that was like, all right, let's just give this to people in that, make a beverage enhancer for them, and then they can use that whenever they want. So that's one cool thing we got coming out like in the next month or so. And then we're going to roll out our infused pre-roll line probably later this year.
Dope.
Once we get grows going and shit. Because then Paper Planes will have access to buy weed off our grow.
Right.
Like they're separate businesses. And so like I can then have at least right in my hometown what he's breeding, what we like, and being able to have that for our pre-rolls and like do really tasty infused pre-rolls. Like I'm going to use a lot of fruits with these ones. Like gas doesn't come through as you would want it to in like a pre-roll mix with hash, you know, mix with oil.
Yeah.
Like you need like some loud ass candy fruit terps on it to really get people to taste the strain in there. So we're going to do a lot of that. That's what we're going to do.
That's
is just
cool.
like 5 packs of infused pre-rolls, syrups, and a lot more live resin coming from us. Like we rolled out with tons of shatter.
Ooh,
you know, like
just
Shatter is
People
back.
been buying it.
Yeah.
Shatter is back. I
It's a
always
trip.
loved Shatter. I don't know why it went away.
It's the base of the BHO industry. People need to understand that like it builds the customer base for BHO smokers. This is your first entry into being a dabber. You're not gonna just probably go right onto the live resin right away, or maybe even understand it. You're probably gonna get past some shatter from somebody, you know. And so it's like it's your little like gateway into coming into the BHO world. And I think like when it disappeared, the BHO market kind of disappeared too. All these dabbers went to rosin. They're like, and we're over this, you know. And we actually were kind of off the rec scene really for a minute, just not doing as much as we used to because of that, right? But I think now with the shatter being back in the market, it's a blessing, man. Thank you to everybody who's buying it out there. Like we really appreciate it. And it's really enabled us to create all these other products for people, which is what we really love to do, which is the live resin. Yeah.
People are appreciating it.
Yeah, thank you guys.
They're telling it, dude. You guys got the following on Instagram, man. About that, what is your Instagram? How can they follow you guys?
Ours is at Finest Cannabis.
Finest Cannabis?
Yeah, with a PH.
Is there a dot in that?
Nope.
No dot in that?
I got a dot.
I was looking at it and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got a lot of scammers and stuff nowadays.
Right.
So.
And I think you might be shadow banned too.
Yeah,
Everyone.
It was very
Everyone.
difficult to find your even though I'm following you.
Yeah.
I wanted to do a little research and I was like, man, I am following this guy, and it's only recently, right? that it happened?
It's been up and down the last couple of years.
Okay.
We did well. Like, I mean, we jumped up to like 100,000 followers pretty quick, and then when you get to that size, it seems like they almost
kind of start capping you a little bit. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, like it just keeps going down like every month, you know. So
They're just big tech, just fucking with us.
What I always say on Instagram too, it's not how many followers you got, it's who's following you.
Right.
You could have
or the interaction.
200 followers. If it's 200 important people, your account's way more lit than fucking someone with 1 million followers. Doesn't matter. It's the people that follow you.
There's 200 people that even that comment or something. That's
that's
more,
the
that's more than that 3
yeah.
million person. That's,
yeah,
you know
Instagram
what I mean?
is, a little dead right now, but it's still great to be on there and talk to friends and do the thing. People still like it. You get to connect with people.
Get to see updates on what everybody's got going on. I appreciate
for sure.
Instagram.
Cool stuff out there.
Yeah, ours is paperplanes.extracts. And then we have Paper Planes Labs as well. I believe it's paperplanes.labs.
Nice.
So both those accounts.
Cool.
Well, thank you
Hell
guys
thank
so
you
much.
guys. It's been great.
Thank you.
We appreciate you guys coming by. Everybody at home, please remember to like, subscribe.
Yes,
all
please.
that good stuff. Shoot a comment. Let these guys know how cool they are. And we love you guys. Take care. Everybody, rotation out. Peace.
Peace out.
Killer, guys. Good job.
Hey, appreciate it, man. Thank you.
That's a lot of fun.
Carter, you guys killed it.
I don't want to break this again.
You guys can accept Kristian put my joint way across me. It's like he doesn't even want to smoke it, Kristian.